Chapter 28:13. Uncle Yuan, why aren't you surprised at all to see us back? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Yuan suspiciously. What's there to be surprised about? I already knew about it the day you came back. I also know that you're going to meet a lot of old friends, so I didn't disturb you. Qin Yuan chuckled. You knew about it the day you came back? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Don't forget that I'm the guardian of this continent. Qin Yuan laughed. Ha, the white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. Indeed. As the guardian of this continent, as long as Uncle Yuan was willing, as long as there were any signs of trouble, he would be able to know at the first moment. Don't just stand there. Sit down and talk. Qin Yuan said. Bai Long looked at the teapot on the table and said, We're not here to drink tea with you this time. Qin Yuan was stunned. Do you know why I'm so happy? It's because I've broken the curse. Bai Long said. What? Broken the curse? Qin Yuan looked at Bai Long in surprise. Look. Bai Long shook his body and returned to his true form. Looking at Bai Long's current dragon body, Qin Yuan was stunned. It's Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang helped me break the curse. Bai Long smiled and turned back into his human form. He continued, and now, I can still cultivate. You can still cultivate. Qin Yuan was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, How did you do it? It's a kind of elixir. Qin Feiyang opened the jade box again and took out a disaster-crossing heavenly elixir. This is the disaster-crossing heavenly elixir. It can break all curses. Disaster-crossing heavenly elixir. Qin Yuan took the elixir and said in surprise, 3 dragon-shaped elixir auras? Did you refine this? No, it was refined by Dan Wangkai. Qin Feiyang smiled. You can even refine a pill with 3 dragon-shaped core qi. Looks like you've grown a lot over the years. Qin Yuan looked at Dan Wangkai and praised. Uncle Yuan, you flatter me. Compared to young master, I'm still a little lacking. Dan Wangkai waved his hand. Not bad. Qin Yuan looked at Qin Feiyang and Dan Wangkai and nodded with a smile. Then, he looked down at the disaster-crossing heavenly pill again. Uncle Yuan, quickly take it. Qin Feiyang urged. However, Qin Yuan did not consume the disaster-crossing heavenly pill. The smile on his face slowly disappeared and a trace of worry appeared instead. What is it? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Feiyang, you're a fool. Confused? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Damn old man, what's wrong with you? He came all the way here to deliver the pills. Why are you scolding him? White Dragon frowned. I didn't scold him. I'm very happy that Feiyang thought of me at the first moment. However, have you all thought of a problem? This curse was set by small beast. Now that the curse has been broken, won't it be alarmed? Qin Yuan said. Small beast. Upon hearing Qin Yuan's words, everyone's expression changed. That's right. Why didn't they think of small beast? Qin Feiyang also slapped his head. Because he was too happy and couldn't wait, he completely neglected this point. How is it? White Dragon came back to his senses and immediately looked up at the sky. His white face was full of worry. Don't be afraid. Dong Zhengyang comforted, but he was also very nervous in his heart. White Dragon has been breaking the curse for so long, but I don't see small beast appearing. I think, it might not have noticed it. Dan Wangkai looked at the sky and frowned. For a moment, everyone looked at the sky and was silent. It's useless to worry. Qin Yuan shook his head and smiled. He threw the disaster-crossing heavenly pill into his mouth and appeared extremely calm. This was the state of mind. Even if danger came, he would not panic. What happened to White Dragon happened to Qin Yuan once again. Boom! Soon. Accompanied by a low and loud sound, the curse on Qin Yuan's body was also successfully broken. Moreover, his cultivation did not drop and was still a half-step divine lord. Uncle Yuan, how do you feel? Qin Feiyang quickly asked. Qin Yuan smiled and said, I've regained my freedom. Of course I feel good. You guys are very good, but Grandpa Frog is very unhappy now. Before Qin Yuan's voice fell, a voice full of anger suddenly sounded in the sky above. This voice, the group of people's faces changed drastically. They immediately looked up and saw a small golden figure standing in the void above. If that wasn't the golden small beast, who else could it be? What should we do? The snow python suddenly panicked. Dong Zhengyang's face was also full of fear. Sigh. In the end, it still came. Qin Yuan sighed and walked in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. Uncle Yuan, what are you doing? Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Yuan's back. Qin Yuan turned a deaf ear to him. Looking at the golden small beast, he said respectfully, Lord Beast God, all of this has nothing to do with them. I asked them to do this. If you want to punish someone, punish me. Uncle Yuan, looking at the back of the old man in front of him, Qin Feiyang's heart ached. Even in the face of the golden small beast, Uncle Yuan still walked to the front to protect him without hesitation. This selfless care was more precious than anything in the world. How could he let such an old man get hurt because of him? Swish! Qin Feiyang looked up at the small beast and said, It was all done by me. The pills were also refined by me. If you want to be angry, come at me. Feiyang, don't mess around. Qin Yuan glared at Qin Feiyang. Uncle Yuan, you used to protect me and take care of me. Now, it's my turn to protect you and take care of you. Qin Feiyang smiled. The golden small beast looked down at the two of them and sneered, How touching. A cold-blooded creature like you will never understand. Qin Feiyang sneered. Feiyang, shut up. Seeing Qin Feiyang provoking the golden small beast, Qin Yuan shouted angrily and knelt on the ground. He looked at the golden small beast and said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't teach it well. Please forgive me, Lord Beast God. Uncle Yuan, why are you kneeling to it? Is it worthy? Get up. Qin Feiyang shouted and grabbed Uncle Yuan's arm. Feiyang, sometimes, you have to lower your head. Qin Yuan was indifferent as he sighed. You can lower your head to anyone, but not to it. It doesn't have the right. Do you know? Not only did it snatch Chang Shui, but it also sealed the castle again. The worst thing is that it even sealed my battle soul. And before I came back, if it wasn't for one of my subordinates self-destructing, would have been killed by it. Qin Feiyang's eyes were burning with anger. That's right. This piece of trash doesn't deserve to kneel to you. The white-eyed wolf roared. It sealed the castle again and sealed the battle soul? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and Qin Feiyang in a daze. He never thought that Qin Feiyang and the others would have such a deep grudge with the beast god. The golden small beast looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said, It seems that you have a prejudice against Uncle Frog. So what? I've already returned to the Great Qin, and you still won't let me go? Qin Feiyang said angrily. You're still so confident? If you hadn't broken the curse on them, would Uncle Frog have come to such a small place? The golden small beast's eyes were full of disdain. Since you don't like such a small place, then get lost. Qin Feiyang roared. You're getting more and more arrogant. The golden small beast's eyes flashed with killing intent, and a wisp of golden divine power swept out. It was obviously very slow, but Qin Feiyang found that he couldn't dodge it. Moreover, his body seemed to be frozen, and he couldn't move at all. Poof! The divine power entered Qin Feiyang's chest, and a blood puppet the size of a football appeared. It was penetrated from the front to the back, and blood was flowing out. So strong. Seeing this scene, Dong Zhengyang, Dan Wangkai, Yan Wei, Wang Xiaojie, Wang Yangfeng, Bai Long, and Qin Yuan were all shocked. I've let you go time and time again. Do you really think Uncle Frog can't bear to kill you? The golden small beast looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain. Of course, it's easy for you to kill me. But I'm not convinced. We refined the disaster crossing heavenly pill ourselves, and we didn't ask anyone for help. What right do you have to stop us? Qin Feiyang said angrily, and his face was almost distorted. You still dare to be arrogant? The golden small beast raised its eyebrows. Qin Yuan saw that the situation was not good, and he hurriedly shouted, Lord Beast God, please show mercy, get lost. The golden small beast roared, and its voice was like thunder. It turned into an invisible sound wave, and it shook Qin Yuan until he kept vomiting blood. Uncle Yuan, Qin Feiyang's face changed drastically, and he quickly ran to Qin Yuan's side. Feiyang, give up. You'll never be a match for it. Qin Yuan sighed. No. Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked up at the golden small beast, and roared, I've said it before, if you have anything, come at me, don't hurt the people around me. When you helped them break the curse, their deaths were already destined. So you can't blame me, because you're the one who caused their deaths. The golden small beast shook its head coldly, and two strands of divine power flew out, respectively towards Qin Yuan and White Dragon. Bastard! Don't go too far. The white-eyed wolf roared, and its battle soul rushed out, roaring, steal its cultivation for me. With your little strength, you want to steal Grandpa Frog's cultivation? The golden small beast's face was full of disdain, and with a swipe of its claws, the battle soul was shattered on the spot. Following closely, the two strands of divine power that flew towards Qin Yuan and White Dragon turned in the air and attacked the white-eyed wolf. White-eyed wolf, Qin Feiyang roared, wanting to rescue him, but no matter what, his feet couldn't move, as if he was stuck in a quagmire. Boom! The two strands of divine power blasted the white-eyed wolf's body, and its physical body was torn apart, leaving only half of its soul. White-eyed wolf, brother wolf, everyone roared in grief, gritting their teeth. Lord Beast God, I beg you, let them go, I'm willing to accept any punishment. Qin Yuan looked at the golden small beast and pleaded. The white dragon was so scared that it stood there trembling. Even the current Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't resist in front of the beast god, let alone them. They had just broken the curse, and they were going to die. They couldn't accept it. The golden small beast looked coldly at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and then looked at Qin Yuan and White Dragon. You people are really not satisfied. I'll give you the cultivation of a half-step divine lord, and give you the power to rule 2 continents. Besides, you were the ones who chose to be guardians back then. Now, you actually hate Grandpa Frog. You don't want to, right? Fine. Grandpa Frog will fulfill your wish, and at worst, Grandpa Frog will find someone else. I believe that there are plenty of people who are willing. The golden small beast waved its claws, and 2 strands of golden divine power flew towards Qin Yuan and White Dragon. At this moment, whether it was Dong Zhengyang, White Dragon, or Yan Wei and the others, they couldn't help but feel despair. Chapter 28:14. 1,000 years. Suddenly, a low and hoarse voice sounded. Everyone immediately looked at Qin Feiyang, because the one who spoke was Qin Feiyang. 1,000 years? What did that mean? Small Beast also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang lowered his head, his face gloomy, as if he was struggling with something. Suddenly, he looked up at Small Beast and roared, "Let them go, give me 1,000 years, if I can't beat you by then, you don't have to do anything, I will self-destruct in front of you." 1,000 years? Defeat me? Small Beast was stunned. That's right. The Beast God, don't tell me you don't dare to accept the challenge of an ant like me. Qin Feiyang sneered. Huh, Small Beast laughed as if it had heard the funniest joke in the world. 1,000 years, I only need 1,000 years, and I will definitely trample you under my feet. Qin Feiyang roared. Huh, Small Beast laughed even more wildly, and tears seemed to be coming out of its eyes. You don't dare? Qin Feiyang roared. All right. Small Beast stopped laughing, and the two strands of divine power that were heading towards Qin Feiyang and White Dragon also stopped in the void. It then looked down at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't say 1,000 years, Daddy Frog will give you 10,000 years. It's a deal." Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. The longer the time, the better. But listen to Daddy Frog. If you still can't defeat Daddy Frog after 10,000 years, then not only will you die, but the entire Great Qin and Forgotten Continent will be buried with you. And the Black Tortoise Realm. In short, everything related to you will be destroyed by then. Do you dare to make such a bet? Small Beast smiled coldly. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly trembled. This was no longer a gamble with his personal wealth, but with the fate of billions of living beings. What is it? Wasn't he quite awesome just now? How did he scare you? Small Beast's face was filled with disdain. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "This is obviously our personal grudge. Why do you have to involve these innocent people? This is the price. If you can afford to play, then play. If you can't afford to play, then behave yourself. Hurry up and decide. Otherwise, Qin Yuan and the others will all die." The golden Small Beast said indifferently. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Uncle Yuan. Qin Yuan cried out, "Feiyang, don't gamble with the lives of 3 continents for me. But if I can't even save you, how can I save the living beings of the 3 continents?" Qin Feiyang murmured. He looked up at the Small Beast and roared, "I'll bet with you, but I have a condition." Awesome. The Small Beast laughed heartily. Sigh. Qin Yuan let out a low sigh. In order to save him, was it worth it to gamble the fate of 3 continents? The White Dragon also looked at Qin Feiyang with a complicated expression. Although it was to save Qin Yuan, it was also to save her. 3 continents, billions of living beings, this bet could be said to be universally shocking. In the entire world, perhaps only Qin Feiyang dared to agree. The Golden Lady looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "State your condition." Qin Feiyang said, "Let Uncle Yuan and the White Dragon continue to be the guardians of Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent." What? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Why did the Small Beast come? Wasn't it because they broke the curse? For all of this, they even gambled the fate of 3 continents. But now, why did Qin Feiyang want them to continue being the guardians? If he did this, wouldn't everything he did before be in vain? The Small Beast was also quite surprised. Obviously, it didn't expect Qin Feiyang to raise such a condition. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Qin Feiyang comforted. He looked up at the Small Beast and continued, "But it's different this time. They should enjoy the rights of a guardian. Didn't Lord Frog already give them the cultivation of a half-step divine lord and the authority to rule 2 continents? The Small Beast frowned. This is considered the rights of a guardian? A true guardian should be like the fire python, controlling the power of the natural order, and can't put curses on them. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. You know quite a lot. But aren't you afraid that if you really give them the authority to control the power of the natural order, their ambitions will grow and they will bring disaster to the two continents? The small beast looked at him playfully. You don't have to worry about this. Since they are guardians, they should enjoy these rights. Otherwise, who would be willing? Even if someone is willing at the beginning, after a long time, they will still resent you. Today's matter will happen again. Is this what you want to see? Of course. With your strength, killing them is as easy as flipping your hand, but I believe that you don't like this kind of trouble. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. The small beast was silent. Uncle Yuan, Bai Long, and the fire python, although they are in different places, they are all guardians. They should enjoy the same treatment. This is my only condition. I believe that for you, it is just a small matter. Qin Feiyang said. Huh, the small beast laughed and nodded. Okay, Lord Frog will do as you say and give them the rights. After saying that, it waved its claws, and 2 rays of divine light entered Qin Yuan and Bai Long's forehead. But you have to remember that you only have 10,000 years, so work hard. In addition, I will give you 3 more days. If you are still here after 3 days, I will kill you without mercy. The small beast smiled coldly. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then suddenly became angry and roared, Why? This is my home, and I don't even have the freedom to go home. Freedom? When you defeat Lord Frog, no one will care where you go. But now, humph. Lord Frog has the final say. The small beast's eyes flashed coldly, and it disappeared without a trace. Only then did everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang looked gloomily at the place where the small beast disappeared, then quickly ran to the white-eyed wolf's divine soul and asked, Are you okay? Why don't you try? I almost lost my life. How can I be okay? The white-eyed wolf's angry voice came from the half of the divine soul. Qin Feiyang smiled and sent the white-eyed wolf to the castle. It would not take long for the white-eyed wolf to condense a divine soul and reconstruct its body. Feiyang, you are too stupid. How can you defeat it in 10,000 years? Qin Yuan sighed helplessly. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then turned to Qin Yuan and said with a smile, Uncle Yuan, don't worry. I can do it. Don't be so confident. Even if you have the time array of 1 day and 1,000 years, it will be difficult to defeat it. Because we don't know how strong it is. Dong Zhengyang shook his head. A time array of 1 day and 1,000 years. Yan Wei, Wang Xiaojie, and Wang Yangfeng were stunned when they heard this. Qin Yuan was also shocked. A time array of 1 day and 1,000 years was the legendary time array. No wonder Qin Feiyang dared to accept it. At the beginning, he even said that he could defeat the small beast in 1,000 years. Difficult, Qin Feiyang murmured and smiled faintly, even if it is difficult, we have to go on. Thank you. Bai Long looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of gratitude. No need. Even without today's incident, I will have a battle with it sooner or later. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, then looked at the worried Qin Yuan and smiled bitterly, Uncle Yuan, can you have some confidence in me? When have I ever disappointed you? Let's talk about it later. Don't we still have 10,000 years? Think about it, a mortal's life is only a few decades. We still have 10,000 years to live. Even if I lose to it, it will be considered a gain. Qin Feiyang added a few more words. You brat. Qin Yuan shook his head and smiled, Uncle Yuan believes in you. You can definitely do it. Thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully and said, take a look and see if you can control the rule force. Qin Yuan looked at the sky, raised his old arm, and waved gently. Boom! A rule force suddenly descended from the sky. It can really be controlled? Yan Wei and the others were stunned. If they could control the rule force, then Qin Yuan and the White Dragon would be the true guardians in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to the white dragon. This harvest is not easy to come by. I hope you can make good use of it and visit the Forgotten Continent. Don't worry. I don't have any resentment now. Let's talk about it later. This is also what you fought for me. I will use the rule force to protect the Forgotten Continent. The white dragon nodded solemnly. All right then. There are only 3 days left. Go back and spend time with Mother. Qin Feiyang sighed. Originally, he wanted to come back and stay for a few hundred years until the hell of the Nether King ended. Unexpectedly, there were only 3 days left in the blink of an eye. Yes, I should go and spend time with her. After all, I don't know how many years I will have to wait before I can come back. Qin Yuan nodded. Then follow me to the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Yuan, his eyes full of expectation. He also wanted to have a good talk with Uncle Yuan. All right. Qin Yuan nodded and smiled. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Dong Zhengyang and asked, now that the white dragon's curse has been broken, do you still want to go to the ancient world? What do you think? Dong Zhengyang smiled faintly. Up to you. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Wang Xiaojie, asking, how is your sister now? She has recovered a lot. Wang Xiaojie nodded. All right then, go to the Black Tortoise world now. Remember, you only have 3 days. How much you can gain in these 3 days will depend on your luck. Qin Feiyang said. This disciple will work hard. Wang Xiaojie nodded. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice to Dan Wangkai. Later, tell Fire Lotus not to let Wang Xiaojie meet Qin Chen. Why? Dan Wangkai was suspicious. If Xiaojie knows that I am bringing Qin Chen to the ancient world, what will he do? He will definitely pester me as well. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Then bring him along. Dan Wangkai thought. No. He still has his mother and sister to take care of. I won't let him die outside. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. All right. Dan Wangkai secretly agreed. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Wang Xiaojie and Dan Wangkai to the castle. Then, Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yuanshan and Yen Wei, and laughed, I haven't had a good gathering with you guys since I came back, let's go to the imperial capital together. All right. The two of them nodded. But when we return to the imperial capital, don't mention what happened here to anyone, especially Mother. Qin Feiyang reminded everyone. You don't need to tell us that. We know that. Everyone nodded. Because this was Qin Feiyang's personality. If there was anything, he would shoulder it himself, and he didn't want everyone to worry together with him. Then let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Bai Long looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I will return to Forgotten Continent first, I will come to send you off the day after tomorrow. Dong Zhengyang also looked at Qin Feiyang, and laughed, I will also go to Forgotten Continent and accompany her. Up to you. Qin Feiyang laughed, and then looked at Qin Yuan. Qin Yuan waved his hand, sweeping up Qin Feiyang and the others, and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 28:15. Do you really want to go again? After Qin Feiyang and the rest left, Bai Long turned to look at Dong Zhengyang and asked. Of course. Dong Zhengyang nodded. Why? Bai Long frowned. In the end, Qin Feiyang made this gamble of fate with the little beast in order to help you and Qin Yuan. How can I sit back and do nothing when it's related to you? We'll talk about it later. Small beast must also be dealt with. Otherwise, it will find me sooner or later. Dong Zhengyang said in a low voice. Bai Long asked, because of the Eye of Destiny? Yes. Dong Zhengyang nodded, pondered for a while, and then sighed. I'll be frank with you. People like us who have awakened the heaven-defying fighting soul are born with a mission. Even if you hide from the world, someone will come to you sooner or later. What exactly is the mission? Bai Long frowned. Dong Zhengyang looked up at the sky and muttered, the battle of destiny, the redemption of death. The battle of destiny, the redemption of death. Bai Long muttered. The white dragon murmured, completely unable to understand. The Arch Palace. Lu Qiuyu was very happy these days. She seemed to be a few years younger. Autumn Rain Restaurant. At this moment, Lu Qiuyu was sitting in the pavilion with two maids. She was making exquisite pastries. One of the maids smiled and said, "Your Highness, you've been making pastries every day. How can His Highness finish them? Anyway, Feiyang will be here for a long time. Take your time." Lu Qiuyu smiled. His Highness is so lucky to have you as his mother. The two maids were envious. You're wrong. I'm so lucky to have this son. Lu Qiuyu smiled. You have such a good relationship with your son. But His Highness has been away for a few days. Why hasn't he returned? The two maids frowned. Lu Qiuyu said, he has many friends. He will definitely be away for a few days. One of the maids said unhappily, how can his friends be more important than his mother? What are you saying? How can this be compared? Lu Qiuyu was unhappy. I'm sorry, Your Highness. The maid hurriedly apologized. At home, I rely on my parents. Outside, I rely on my friends. So, whether it's family or friends, they are all equally important. The two of you are too young and haven't experienced much. Lu Qiuyu looked at the two maids and shook her head. Yes, yes, yes. The two of them giggled, as if they were not very afraid of this empress. Of course. This was related to Lu Qiuyu's personality. Even though she was the mother of a nation, she did not put on any airs, and appeared to be extremely amiable. Therefore, the maidservant by her side was not very afraid. But there was definitely reverence. After all, Lu Qiuyu was already very strong. Mother, suddenly. A laugh came from outside the garden. Lu Qiuyu looked up and saw a group of people standing at the entrance. They were Qin Feiyang, Qin Yuan, Yan Wei, and Wang Yangfeng. Lu Qiuyu saw that Qin Yuan, Yan Wei, and Wang Yangfeng were also present. She quickly put down the pastries in her hands and stood up to welcome them. Greetings, Your Highness. Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng bowed. No need to be so polite, no need to be so polite. Lu Qiuyu hurriedly waved her hand and said with a smile, I really didn't expect you guys to come. Yan Wei said, I just hope that Your Highness won't blame us for disturbing you. No, no. I'm only happy that everyone is here. Lu Qiuyu smiled slightly, then looked at Qin Yuan and shook her head, you are even more difficult to invite than them. All these years, I sent someone to invite you every time during the holidays, but you never came. Qin Yuan shook his head and said with a smile, I've long been used to this kind of life. It's too lively and I'm not used to it. Lu Qiuyu said, then it seems that Feiyang has the face to invite you over immediately. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Yuan and said, Uncle Yuan, we are all family. If you are invited to come during the holidays, just come. There's no need to be polite. Qin Yuan smiled bitterly and said, don't listen to your mother. I'm not polite. I've also come many times. I remember every time you came. In the past few hundred years, there have only been 10 times. Lu Qiuyu was dissatisfied. All right. I will definitely come often in the future. Qin Yuan shook his head and smiled. That's more like it. Go inside and sit. You two, go and tidy up. Lu Qiuyu looked at the two maids behind her and said. Yes. The two maids nodded and turned to run into the pavilion. Qin Feiyang and the others followed Lu Qiuyu and walked slowly along the path to the pavilion. Wang Yangfeng looked around and said with a smile, "Outsiders will probably never think that our great Qin's Empress Dowager would actually live in such a simple place. It's good to be simple. It's steady and calm." Lu Qiuyu smiled. After entering the pavilion, everyone sat in front of the tea table and started chatting. "Feiyang, how are your brothers and sisters?" Lu Qiuyu suddenly asked. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "I went to see them this morning. They are all fine. Now, they are staying in the Black Tortoise world and don't want to come out. These insensible children." Lu Qiuyu shook her head. "They are no longer children," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "What do you mean?" Lu Qiuyu was stunned. "You will know in 2 days. Let's keep you in suspense for now." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "You little brat," Lu Qiuyu shook her head and said, "Why? Have you seen them?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Are you relieved now?" Lu Qiuyu said with a smile. "Yes. Seeing that they are living well, I can also roam the outside world with peace of mind," Qin Feiyang said. Lu Qiuyu looked outside and asked suspiciously, "Why don't I see the wolf pup? It is about to break through, so it went to the Black Tortoise world to cultivate in seclusion." Qin Feiyang said. "Is that so? I thought it was fooling around somewhere." Lu Qiuyu shook her head. "Mother, you have misunderstood it. Ever since it entered the ancient world, it has been in seclusion. It is more serious and hardworking than anyone," Qin Feiyang said. "Is that so?" Lu Qiuyu was surprised. "All these years, without its mischievous behavior, I am still not used to it," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "For it to cultivate in seclusion all day with its personality, it is really rare." Lu Qiuyu shook her head and smiled. "Yes. However, hard work also pays off. Its strength should be stronger than mine now," Qin Feiyang said. "The stronger you become, the prouder mother will be of you. However, you can't just think about cultivation. You also have to cultivate your relationship with the mermaid princess. Women generally don't ask for much. A little care and care is enough," Lu Qiuyu said. "I know." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right then, you guys chat first. I will go to the back and cook some dishes for you guys so that you can drink a few cups at noon." Lu Qiuyu stood up and smiled. "Then I will trouble mother." Qin Feiyang chuckled. Lu Qiuyu smiled, turned around, and left with the two maids. After watching Lu Qiuyu leave, Qin Yuan turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, "You can't bear to leave, right?" Qin Feiyang's face was full of melancholy. Only 3 days left. He wasn't ready to leave at all. Take it easy. Even if there was no small beast, you would have to leave sooner or later. Qin Yuan patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed. He could only comfort himself like this. For the next 2 days, Qin Feiyang accompanied his mother without leaving her side. Lu Qiuyu was also happier day by day. As for Yan Wei, Wang Yangfeng, and Qin Yuan, when they were free, they would go to the back mountain of the Emperor Palace to drink tea, chat, and play chess with Emperor Hong, Emperor Qin, Old Qin, and the others. However, happy times always passed quickly. The 3rd day. Early morning. Qin Feiyang got up early in the morning. After washing up, he stood on the balcony of the 2nd floor and looked up at the slowly rising sun. This was already the last day. He would leave tomorrow morning. Even if he was reluctant, he couldn't change it. This was strength. Today, in front of Small Beast, he didn't even have the right to stay at home for 1 more day. Crack. Unconsciously, he clenched his fists, and his joints made crisp cracking sounds. If he wanted true freedom, not only did he have to defeat Small Beast and Ice Dragon, but he also had to transcend this world. In other words, he had to defeat the god of creation. The road ahead was long. "You're up so early. What are you looking at? So engrossed?" Lu Qiuyu stood beside Qin Feiyang without him noticing. Qin Feiyang quickly collected his thoughts, loosened his clenched fists, turned to look at Lu Qiuyu, and said with a smile, "Maybe I drank too much last night. My head hurts, so I can't sleep." Last night. He, Yan Wei, Wang Yangfeng, Uncle Yuan, Monarch Qin, Monarch Hong, Monarch Qin, Old Qin, and the others drank and chatted until midnight. He did drink a lot. Don't drink too much. Your father too. He knows you can't hold your liquor, but he keeps drinking with you. I'll go and scold him later. Lu Qiuyu said. No, no, no. Father is also happy. Besides, I can't drink with them much. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, but the last sentence was said in his heart. Yes. He was leaving tomorrow morning. How many more times could he drink? Okay, I'll go and make breakfast first. Lu Qiuyu smiled and turned to go downstairs. Qin Feiyang looked at his mother's back and couldn't help but feel sad. His mother was so happy now, but if she knew that he was leaving tomorrow, how disappointed would she be? He couldn't bear it and didn't want to ruin his mother's happy mood. Don't talk about it if you don't want to. Spend the day happily. Qin Yuan walked to Qin Feiyang's side and said with a smile. Qin Feiyang looked at Uncle Yuan and nodded with a smile. Then let's go down and have some morning tea. I like the heavenly immortal you brought back very much. Qin Yuan said with a smile. If you like it, I'll give you a few £100 later. Qin Feiyang said. A few £100? Qin Yuan was stunned. What's a few £100? I can take out a few £1,000. Qin Feiyang smiled proudly. This was not a joke. Although this kind of tea grew too slowly and the leaf tips were the most tender, but after so many years, the fire lotus had accumulated a lot. After all, this 1 day and 1,000 years time array was not a joke. Chapter 28:16. Qin Feiyang and Qin Yuan sat in the pavilion. Just as they finished brewing tea, Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng walked out. Like Qin Feiyang, the three of them had been staying in the Autumn Rain Inn for the past few days. There were many rooms in the Autumn Rain Inn, and a dozen more could stay there. However, it wasn't easy to stay in the Autumn Rain Inn. After all, this was the residence of the emperor and his wife. Morning. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and smiled. The two of them smiled and walked into the pavilion to drink tea together. I really envy you guys. Soon. The emperor also walked out in his dragon robe. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the other three, he shook his head and said. Others are also envious of you. Yan Wei smiled. Forget it. When can I be like you guys, sitting here early in the morning and drinking tea freely? That will be enough. Let's not talk about it anymore. I'll go to the morning assembly first. I'll come back to accompany you guys later. After saying that, the emperor quickly left. See. The emperor who seems to be endlessly glorious to others also has troubles. Qin Yuan shook his head. There's nothing we can do about it. Many people only see the surface. Only when he reaches this step and sits on this position can he understand the helplessness and troubles. Yan Wei said. Isn't life like this? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone, and placed them neatly on the stone table. What are you doing? Qin Yuan and the other two looked at him suspiciously. Before leaving, I have to leave something behind. Qin Feiyang smiled. The three of them looked at each other. Yan Wei stood up and sat beside Qin Feiyang, helping to grind the ink. Qin Feiyang picked up the brush, dipped it in the ink, pondered for a while, and lowered his head to copy. Qin Yuan and the other two looked at it for a while. It turned out to be a kind of pill formula. Chaos Divine Pill, Nirvana Divine Pill, etc. After a while, Qin Feiyang finally finished copying. Feiyang, your intentions are good, but have you considered that Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent don't have such medicinal ingredients? Qin Yuan said. Even if we have the herbs, we don't have a high level of alchemy fire and alchemy furnace. We won't be able to refine it. Wang Yangfeng added. I've thought about this for a long time. Later, I will give you some alchemy fire, alchemy furnace, and medicinal herbs. After I leave, I will give them to my mother. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yan Wei said, but we don't have an alchemist of that level. Take it slow. Who didn't climb up step by step? Maybe in the future, a powerful alchemist will be born by our side? Qin Feiyang smiled. All right. The three of them looked at each other and nodded. Uncle Yuan, please keep this pill formula for now. Qin Feiyang folded the pill recipe and handed it to Qin Yuan. Qin Yuan took it in his hand, looked at Qin Feiyang, and sighed inwardly. For Great Qin, this child had already done too much. Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen often said that Qin Feiyang was Great Qin's fortune, and he deserved it. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, raised his head and looked at the pavilion. Seeing that his mother didn't appear, he lowered his head and continued to write. This wasn't a pill formula, but a letter. A farewell letter to his mother, father, and all his friends and family. Yes. He wanted to use this method to bid farewell. Because he really didn't want to see everyone's sad and tearful expressions when they saw him off. Although everyone would be sad when they saw the letter, at least he wouldn't see it with his own eyes. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, his heart would feel better. A moment later, Qin Feiyang wrote an entire page, then dried the ink, folded it, and handed it to Qin Yuan. Then, Qin Feiyang put away the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone, took a sip of tea, and then looked at Qin Yuan and the other two, who all looked at him with a disappointed face, and couldn't help but shake his head and smile. What are you guys doing? Didn't I just say that we have to spend the day happily? Besides, if mother sees your expressions, she will definitely be suspicious. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Yuan said helplessly, you still have the mood to comfort us? What a joke, I am someone who has seen the world, my state of mind is definitely better than yours. Qin Feiyang smiled proudly. Qin Yuan and the other two looked at each other and laughed. What are you laughing at? So happy. At this moment, Lu Qiuyu walked out and looked at them and asked with a smile. Nothing, we just talked about some funny topics. Qin Feiyang shook his head. All right then, come in and finish eating. Lu Qiuyu said. After breakfast, Qin Feiyang helped to tidy up the bowls and chopsticks, looked at Lu Qiuyu and said, Mother, I will go out for a walk with Uncle Yuan. Okay. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang then looked at Yan Wei and Wang Yangfeng, and said, You guys also have to work hard, make a trip to the Lu family, Forgotten Continent, Spirit State, and call everyone who needs to be called. Then when they ask, what should we say? The two asked secretly. Just say that it's more lively with more people, everyone has a good gathering. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The two nodded and got up to leave. Uncle Yuan, let's go too. Qin Feiyang smiled at Qin Yuan and flew towards the back of the mountain. Greetings, Your Highness. At the entrance of the back of the mountain, the Kirin army guarding outside immediately bowed. Qin Feiyang nodded and followed Qin Yuan straight into the back of the mountain. At this time, the back of the mountain was surrounded by clouds and mist, like a fairyland. With the 10 crystal veins and spirit veins, this place had become a holy land for cultivation. Qin Yuan said with a smile, "This time you came back, you have made a great contribution again." Contribution? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Crystal veins, spirit veins, divine weapons, divine arts, aren't they all contributions? Qin Yuan said. These are all small matters. Qin Feiyang shook his head. It's a small matter for you, but for us, these divine objects are unimaginable. Qin Yuan smiled. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, "Then I'll take you to the Black Tortoise world?" Okay. Qin Yuan nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the two immediately appeared in the sky above the ancient castle of the Black Tortoise world. Looking at the medicine field below and the astonishing energy of the spirit veins and crystal veins, even Qin Yuan's indifferent mood couldn't help but be shocked. Although I've given out a lot of crystal veins and spirit veins, for me, it's just a drop in the ocean. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I've seen it. Qin Yuan nodded. Qin Dage. At this time, Fire Lotus flew up. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and said with a smile, "Fire Lotus, let me introduce you. This old man is the Uncle Yuan that I often mention to you." "Hello, Uncle Yuan." Fire Lotus bowed. Don't. Qin Yuan hurriedly waved his hand, because in his eyes, Fire Lotus was like an unfathomable ocean. Obviously. This was an extremely terrifying expert. "Uncle Yuan, she's called Fire Lotus, a sister of mine. The heavenly immortal dew was cultivated and brewed by her alone." Qin Feiyang laughed. Qin Yuan nodded his head and looked at Fire Lotus with a smile, "So the heavenly immortal dew was made by you." "I had nothing to do, so I planted it for fun. I just didn't expect that Qin Dage would like it so much." Fire Lotus laughed. "Planted for fun?" Qin Yuan was slightly taken aback and revealed a meaningful smile. How could this kind of tea be planted for fun? It must have been carefully cultivated. It was just that there were some things that even if one saw through, one shouldn't say it out loud. "Fire Lotus, go prepare some tea leaves, as well as pill fire, pill furnace, and various medicinal herbs. Don't hurt the roots of these medicinal herbs." Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and said. "Understood." Fire Lotus nodded and then looked at Qin Yuan with a smile, "Then Uncle Yuan, I'll go get busy first. You can do whatever you want." "All right." Qin Yuan nodded. After Fire Lotus left, Qin Yuan looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "You're good." "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang scratched his head. Qin Yuan said, "Such a good girl is actually hiding in the Black Tortoise world. Tell me honestly, when do you plan to get married?" "Get married?" Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and smiled bitterly. "Uncle Yuan, when did your image become so vivid? Still pretending?" Qin Yuan was unhappy. "I'm not pretending. The relationship between Huolian and I is purely that of siblings." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "Is that so?" Qin Yuan frowned. "Yes. Whether it's me or her, we don't have any other thoughts." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's a pity. Although I just met her, this old man really likes her." Qin Yuan shook his head regretfully and asked, "Then what's her cultivation like?" "Her cultivation?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. "It's better if you don't know. Brat, this old man has seen all kinds of things. How can you scare this old man?" Qin Yuan glared at Qin Feiyang. "All right. Fire Lotus is at the initial imperishable stage and has comprehended the law of time. She's a true supreme expert. Even in the ancient world, she's a top existence. Anyway, she's much stronger than me. Qin Feiyang smiled. Since she's so much stronger than you, why would she be willing to be your sister? Qin Yuan was doubtful. Is there a need to think about it? Of course it's because of my character and charm. Qin Feiyang smiled. Brat. Qin Yuan scolded with a smile. But then again, how strong was the imperishable stage? Qin Feiyang seemed to see through Uncle Yuan's doubts and explained, the imperishable stage is very strong. Above the divine monarch stage is the paragon stage, above the paragon stage is the nine heaven stage, and above the nine heaven stage is the imperishable stage. As Qin Feiyang explained, he took Qin Yuan to see the scenery of the Black Tortoise world. Looking at the vast world, Qin Yuan was extremely shocked. An independent world, he never thought that in just a few hundred years, this brat had already grown to this extent. Several days passed. The two returned to the Devil's Land, and Fire Lotus had already prepared everything and stored it in a Qian Kun ring. Several days passed in the Black Tortoise world, but it was only a moment outside. Qin Yuan carefully put away the Qian Kun ring, then looked at the ancient castle below, and then glanced at the Devil's Land, and said, "This old man sensed many familiar auras. Everyone should be back." Qin Feiyang nodded. "All right. Let's go out." Qin Yuan smiled. Everyone was hiding in the Black Tortoise world, and he understood that, so he didn't disturb them. Fire Lotus smiled and said, "Uncle Yuan, take care." Qin Yuan said, "In the future, I'll have to trouble you to take care of Feiyang. I'm not afraid of being laughed at, but it has always been Qin Dage taking care of me." Fire Lotus said. "He can take care of you. It's good enough that he doesn't cause you trouble." Qin Yuan shook his head. "Uncle Yuan, am I so unbearable?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. Qin Yuan shook his head and smiled, then glanced at the continent in front of him and said, "Let's go." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the two appeared in the sky above the back mountain again, then walked toward the deepest part of the mountain, where Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen lived. Chapter 28:17. Entering the deepest part of the back mountain, Qin Feiyang saw Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen sitting by the lake, drinking morning tea. "Grandpa, great-grandpa." Qin Feiyang waved and smiled. "Morning." Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen raised their heads, smiling at Qin Feiyang and Emperor Chen. The two walked over and sat on the side. "Drink." Emperor Chen poured 2 cups of tea and pushed them in front of Qin Feiyang and Qin Yuan. Qin Feiyang smiled, took a sip of tea, and then looked at the statues in the center of the lake. "What are you looking at?" Emperor Chen asked suspiciously. "Maybe, what else can I leave behind?" Qin Feiyang murmured. Several rays of divine light flashed from the center of his eyebrows and disappeared into the statue's forehead. These were all formed by divine arts. There were divine armor, soul destruction technique, Qilin art, wisdom king golden body, and so on. The inheritance had been left behind. Whether the future generations could get it or not depended on their luck. "What are you doing?" Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen looked at each other and then at Qin Feiyang, puzzled. "Leave more inheritance. I hope our Qin clan can get better and better in the future." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Thank you." Emperor Hong smiled with relief. "What I can do is to the best of my ability." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "That's enough." Emperor Hong nodded. Emperor Chen asked, "Feiyang, since you're making arrangements so early, has the departure time been decided?" Qin Feiyang and Qin Yuan looked at each other. Qin Feiyang said, "To be honest, the time has been decided." "When?" Emperor Chen asked. "Tomorrow morning." Qin Feiyang said. "So soon?" Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen froze. Yes. Something happened, so I had to leave. Qin Feiyang nodded. Emperor Hong came to a realization and said, "No wonder you've been staying in the imperial palace these past 2 days. You've only been back for a few days. What's the hurry?" Emperor Chen frowned. "There are some things that I can't decide." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Emperor Chen and Emperor Hong looked at each other and saw Qin Feiyang's helplessness, so they didn't ask any more. "All right. Wander in peace outside. We'll take care of everything at home." Emperor Hong laughed. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. He looked at the two of them and said, "Don't tell mother about this for now, lest she be sad." "Understood." The two of them nodded. Qin Yuan smiled and said, "Then let's go to the Autumn Rain Inn. Everyone should be here soon." "Everyone?" Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen were stunned. "We're about to leave, so Feiyang invited all our friends to gather at the Imperial Palace." Qin Yuan said. "Then the Imperial Palace is going to be lively today." The two looked at each other and smiled. On the way back to the Autumn Rain Inn, the four of them also called Li Jian, Old Qin, and the others. Qin Feiyang didn't hide anything from them. They didn't say much and went to the Autumn Rain Inn with smiles. Arriving at the Autumn Rain Inn, Qin Feiyang saw 7 people sitting in the pavilion drinking tea and chatting. It was Lu Zheng, Lu Hong, Uncle He, and the 4 grandpas. Qin Yuan smiled and said, "This Yan Wei and Lu Zhengyang are really efficient." Qin Feiyang smiled and walked toward the pavilion. "You old geezers, why do you have time to come to our imperial palace?" The Flood Emperor pretended to be surprised. "What? Do we have to get your permission?" The 4th grandpa said with a cold face. "Of course not. What I mean is, if you're coming, let me know in advance so that I can welcome you." Emperor Hong hurriedly waved his hand. "How dare we trouble you?" Lu Yun said. "Huh." The old geezers looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. "Greetings, Emperor Hong." "Greetings, Emperor Chen." "Greetings, Uncle Yuan." Lu Hong got up and saluted. "Didn't I tell you to call me Grandpa and Great-Grandpa in the future? Why is it still Emperor Hong? Emperor Chen? So distant." Emperor Chen was dissatisfied. Lu Hong smiled and said, "Grandpa, Great-Grandpa. That's right. You young people talk." After saying that, Emperor Chen sat at the stone table and chatted with the 4 grandpas. The old geezers got together to drink tea and chat, laughing constantly. Lu Zheng and Lu Hong pulled Qin Feiyang to the side. "What?" Qin Feiyang looked at the two suspiciously. Lu Zheng frowned and said, "Why did you suddenly call us to the imperial palace?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. "What else? Of course, it's a family gathering. Is there really nothing else?" Lu Zheng and Lu Hong looked at him suspiciously. "No." Qin Feiyang shook his head. At this time, Lu Qiuyu stood at the door of the attic, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Feiyang, come here." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, and whispered, "There will be more people coming later. Help me welcome them." After saying that, he ran to the attic. "More people are coming?" Lu Hong and Lu Qiuyu were stunned. Qin Feiyang ran to the door of the attic, looked at Lu Qiuyu, and asked with a smile, "Mother, what's the matter? I just heard from your grandpa that it was you who asked them to come to the imperial palace. What's going on?" Lu Qiuyu was suspicious. "What else can it be? I just want everyone to get together and be happy." Qin Feiyang laughed. He had expected his mother to ask, "Is there really nothing else?" Lu Qiuyu looked at him doubtfully. "There's really nothing else." Qin Feiyang was helpless. Lu Qiuyu said, "Don't lie to me. Even if you lend me dozens of guts, I won't dare to lie to you. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. All right. Then how do you plan to arrange so many people? Lu Qiuyu asked. What's there to arrange? They're not outsiders. Let's get together, drink tea, and chat. That's enough. Qin Feiyang said. How can you entertain guests casually like this? Lu Qiuyu was speechless and said, Okay, I'll arrange it. You go and chat with them. Then I'll have to trouble you, mother. Qin Feiyang smiled. Brat. Lu Qiuyu scolded with a smile. It's so lively. Suddenly, a hoarse laugh sounded. Everyone looked up and saw a group of people landing at the entrance of the garden. Old Master Ren, Uncle Yen, Ling Yunfei, Sister Wuxuang, Shuang Er. Lu Hong was stunned. Why are they all here? Ling Yunfei looked at the indifferent group of people and said in dissatisfaction, Hey, is there no one to receive us? We're guests after all. Scram. What kind of guest are you? If you want to come, then come. If you don't want to come, then leave. Lu Hong glared at Ling Yunfei, walked up, and smiled. Grandpa Ren, Uncle Yen, Uncle Jiang, Aunt Shui, Aunt Lu Ji, please come in. A group of people filed in. Lu Hong looked at Ling Yunfei's daughter and immediately squatted on the ground, smiling. Yen, is already so big. You are? The little girl looked at Lu Hong suspiciously. Don't you remember? I even went to see you when you were young. Lu Hong laughed. The little girl shook her head. Yen, this woman is a tigress. You'd better stay away from her in the future. Ling Yunfei held the little girl and taught her seriously. Who are you calling a tigress? Lu Hong immediately frowned. Whether she's a tigress or not, Lu Zheng has the most right to say. Ling Yunfei chuckled, looked at Lu Zheng standing not far away, and said, Lu Zheng, say something fair. You and I know it in our hearts. Why do you have to say it out loud? Lu Zheng winked. What did you say? Lu Hong immediately glared at him. No, my dear wife, this Ling Yunfei is a scum. You should stay away from him in the future. Lu Zheng quickly waved his hand and glared at Ling Yunfei fiercely. With the opposite sex, there's no humanity. Ling Yunfei shook his head sadly. The little girl looked at Ling Yunfei and said, Daddy, what do you mean by with the opposite sex, there's no humanity? The little girl suddenly asked this, and Ling Yunfei didn't know how to answer for a moment. See. Sooner or later, the child will be led astray by you. Zhao Shuang couldn't help but glare at Ling Yunfei. Ling Yunfei smiled embarrassedly. In the pavilion, Emperor Hong stood up and looked at Old Master Ren and the others. He said with a smile, Come, sit. I'm afraid we can't sit here. Jiang Zhengyi said with a smile. Yan Nanshan also chuckled, it feels more lively than the end of the year. Yeah. Everyone nodded. Lu Zheng, what are you still doing? Hurry up and bring some stools over. Lu Yun looked at Lu Zheng and shouted. Lu Zheng muttered, it seems that I'm also a guest. Lu Yun immediately stared. Okay, right away. Lu Zheng nodded and hurriedly ran into the attic. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he said angrily, You have the nerve to let me, a guest, busy myself? You're the only one who thinks of yourself as a guest. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Scram. Lu Zheng glared fiercely at Qin Feiyang, then picked up a few stools and ran out. Lu Zhengyang looked outside and asked, Feiyang, is there anyone else? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. You child, calling so many people at once, I wasn't prepared at all. Lu Qiuyu shook his head and smiled bitterly. Didn't I already say that we're all family? There's nothing to prepare. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Qiuyu smiled helplessly. Yo! So many people, is it some kind of happy occasion? Suddenly, another voice rang out. Fatso, Li Yan, Gong Sunbei, Yi Shu, and the others also came under the lead of Yan Wei and Wang Yongfeng. Lu Hong was stunned. Almost everyone was here. Fatso ran in, looked at everyone, cleared his throat, and shouted, "Grandpas and grandpas, uncles and aunties, brothers and sisters, hello." Everyone looked at Fatso speechlessly. How old was he? Why was he still so childish? Why is there no reaction? Give me a red packet at least. Fatso said sadly. Everyone rolled their eyes at once. Li Yan's face darkened, and she said, "Don't embarrass me here, okay? How is this embarrassing? This is called bonding. You don't understand." Fatso waved his hand and ran to the attic. Li Yan, this damn Fatso, we still have to teach him a lesson. Feng Ling looked at Li Yan and said. Indeed. You're already a father, but you're still so indecent. Lu Hong, Zhao Shuanger, Ren Wushuang, and Luo Qingzhu also nodded one after another. Fatso ran to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at Lu Qiuyu with a smile. "Hello, Auntie." Lu Qiuyu smiled slightly. "Auntie, I have something to talk to boss." After Fatso finished speaking, he dragged Qin Feiyang and ran to the side. "What?" Qin Feiyang looked at him in confusion. Fatso whispered, "Boss, what's wrong with you? Didn't we just have a gathering a few days ago? Is this not good? Everyone is together for fun." Qin Feiyang was suspicious. If it's just a simple gathering, of course it's good. But why does Fat Lord feel that it's not that simple? Fatso frowned. What's not simple? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at Fatso, looked at the men, women, and children in the garden, and said with a smile, "I haven't seen such a happy atmosphere for a long time." Chapter 28:18. Not long after, the emperor returned from the morning court. Seeing so many people coming down, the emperor was also stunned. "Uncle, I won't disturb you, right?" Zhao Shuang laughed. No. I'm so happy that you guys can come. You guys chat first, I'll go change my clothes." The emperor smiled slightly, walked into the attic, looked at Lu Qiuyu, and asked in a low voice, "What's going on?" "It was Feiyang who invited us, saying that he wanted everyone to get together and have a good time." Lu Qiuyu was helpless. The emperor turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang, who was standing with Fatso, and couldn't help but shake his head and smile, saying, "All right, as long as he's happy." Qin Feiyang was indeed very happy now. Because it had been too long since they had gathered like this. Those smiling faces were like the sun, warming his heart. This scene was also slowly imprinted in his heart, and he would never forget it for the rest of his life. Night gradually fell. The entire autumn rain building was brightly lit. In the garden, there were 5 round tables, which were already filled with hot dishes. "Feiyang, let your brothers and sisters come out to gather," Emperor Hong said. Qin Feiyang patted his head and laughed. "I almost forgot about them, but before you see them, you guys have to be mentally prepared." "What?" Everyone looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously, and with a wave of his arm, 10 figures appeared in front of everyone. It was Qin Haotian, Qin Wan, Qin Xian, Qin Yun, Qin Ji, Qin Yi, Situ Feiyang, Lu Xiaofei and his sister. Qin Haotian and the others were caught off guard. Because they were not prepared in advance, they were suddenly taken out by Qin Feiyang. At the same time, Emperor Hong and the others also looked at Qin Haotian and the others suspiciously. Gradually, they revealed a trace of bewilderment. Lu Qiuyu looked at Qin Yi and asked, "You are?" Qin Yi stepped forward and hugged Lu Qiuyu's arm, and said with dissatisfaction, "Mother, you can't even recognize your own daughter? It's really you." Lu Qiuyu's face was full of shock. What was going on? A few days ago, they were still two children. How did they become a young lady and a handsome young man after going to the Black Tortoise world? Qin Yi also ran in front of Lu Qiuyu and smiled, "Mother, look at our cultivation." Boom! Qin Yi directly released his aura. This is divine might. Lu Qiuyu was stunned. Qin Yi smiled proudly and said, "Brother Zhu Yi and I have both broken through to the War God realm." What? Both of you broke through to the War God level? Lu Qiuyu was dumbfounded. Qin Yun smiled and said, "I don't know about them. We have already become war gods, and Brother Haotian has already become a monarch god." No way. Lu Qiuyu looked at the children in front of her in shock. The emperor and the others were also in disbelief. How many days had it been? Including today, it had only been 5 days, and he had already broken through to the Divine Lord realm? Imperial Mother, Imperial Father, that is indeed the case. Qin Haotian nodded and also released his aura. How could this be? Everyone's face was filled with bewilderment. You may not know, but Feiyang's Black Tortoise realm now has a time array that lasts 1 day and 1,000 years. Although they have only been in the Black Tortoise realm for 5 days, 5,000 years have passed in there. In addition to all kinds of pills and resources, 5,000 years to break through to the Monarch God realm is actually considered slow. Qin Yuan smiled and said. He had been to the Black Tortoise realm and knew how terrifying its foundation was. 1 day and 1,000 years. The Emperor and Lu Qiuyu looked at each other. Lu Zheng came back to his senses and hurriedly looked at the Lu siblings and said, "Xiaofei, Xiaojia, come, let me see how far you have cultivated. You brat, come over here and let me take a good look." Fatso waved at Situ Feiyang. In the past few days, the three of them had become more mature and steady, exuding a sharp aura from their bodies. "Father, Xiaofei, Xiaojia, and I have only cultivated in the Black Tortoise realm for a long time. How much can we improve in 3 days?" Situ Feiyang was helpless. "Yes. We have only just become gods. As for Xiaojia, she has barely reached the War God realm." Lu Xiaofei said. "You have also become gods?" Everyone looked at the two of them in shock. What is there to be surprised about? If Anti-Fire Lotus was not worried that we would break through too quickly and affect our state of mind and deliberately slowed down our speed, I am afraid that even Xiaojia would have become gods. Situ Feiyang said. This is the result of deliberately slowing down the speed? Everyone was dumbfounded. If they did not slow down the speed, what cultivation would these little ones have now? It was hard to imagine. Wait a minute. Fire Lotus? Lu Qiuyu looked at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, "Who is Fire Lotus?" Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "She is a sister that I recognized." Lu Qiuyu said, "Then why don't you let her come out? We can meet her too." This, Qin Feiyang was a little hesitant. "This is your fault, child. You brought a friend back and still hid her." The Emperor was also displeased. "There will be a chance in the future." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Emperor Hong greeted with a smile, "All right, the food is almost ready. Everyone, please take a seat." Everyone drank and chatted merrily all the way until late at night. Other than those who knew about it, everyone else went to rest. Although the autumn rain pavilion could not accommodate so many people, there were still many palaces nearby. Inside the pavilion, Qin Feiyang, Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, Qin Yuan, Li Jian, and Old Man Qin were sitting together. Then I will also go back. Qin Haotian walked out of the pavilion and looked at Qin Feiyang. Don't go yet. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Haotian looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at the pavilion where the candlelight was gradually extinguished and said, "Come in and have a seat." Qin Haotian walked into the pavilion and sat opposite Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang asked, "Do you know why I let you go to the Black Tortoise world to cultivate?" Beside him, Emperor Hong and the others were all drinking tea, not saying a word. "I don't know." Qin Haotian shook his head. "I want to pass the responsibility of protecting the great Qin and forgotten continent to you," Qin Feiyang said. Qin Haotian was stunned and shook his head. "I don't have the time." "Then you can't run away, because you are the third person to have the purple gold dragon blood. Although father and mother gave birth to so many brothers and sisters, I believe that none of them can achieve ancestral awakening." Qin Feiyang smiled. "You are so sure?" Qin Haotian frowned. "It seems that when you awakened the purple gold dragon soul, I already knew the opportunity for ancestral awakening. This opportunity is the purple gold dragon soul. In other words, only the descendants of the Qin clan who awaken the purple gold dragon soul have a certain chance of ancestral awakening," Qin Feiyang said. Qin Haotian frowned, and said, "Even so, so what? I don't know why our Qin clan has the purple gold dragon blood. But I know one thing. Everyone who has the purple gold dragon blood has a different fate than others. For example, my ancestors and I have fought hard to protect the great Qin. I believe that you will be no exception," Qin Feiyang said. "I don't believe in fate." Qin Haotian shook his head. "Whether you believe it or not, in the future, you have to bear the responsibility of protecting all of this. As for my ancestors and I, to be honest, when I returned to the ancient world this time, I didn't plan to come back alive. I think the ancestors should have already made preparations for this." Qin Feiyang sighed. Qin Haotian frowned, and said, "What are you facing in the ancient world? There are some things that are useless even if I tell you. You just have to remember to protect our homeland." With that, Qin Feiyang took out 10 legendary grade divine artifacts and 10 supreme grade divine arts, and said, "These are for you alone." "So much?" Qin Haotian was stunned. "The more you get, the greater the responsibility. I sincerely hope that if there is a day when I come back alive, nothing will change here." Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Haotian and said. Qin Haotian frowned. Why did he feel that something was wrong? "I'll be leaving tomorrow morning." Qin Feiyang sighed. "What?" Qin Haotian was stunned. Although he was also in the Black Tortoise world, because he wasn't in the castle, he couldn't hear what was going on outside, so he didn't know about the small beast. "What? You still don't want me to leave?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Qin Haotian snorted coldly, and said, "I can't wait for you to scram. Don't you know? You're a person who's cold on the outside but warm on the inside." Qin Feiyang shook his head, and then personally handed over the divine artifacts and divine arts to Qin Haotian, and said, "Brother, I'll leave everything at home to you." "Brother," Qin Haotian murmured. Qin Feiyang calling him little brother caused his heart to churn. From the moment Qin Feiyang killed his mother, he never thought that there would be a day when they would call each other brothers. "You guys are brothers." Emperor Hong laughed. "Haotian, this is because your big brother trusts you, so he gave you such a heavy burden. You can't let him down." Emperor Chen sighed. Qin Haotian looked at Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen, then looked at Qin Yuan and the others, and finally looked at Qin Feiyang. In the end, he took a deep breath, took the divine artifacts and divine arts, and said, "I'll take care of everything at home, don't die outside, I still want to take revenge on you." Qin Feiyang smiled with relief, and said, "Just for your words, I will work hard to survive. Then I'll be leaving. I won't be seeing you off tomorrow morning." Qin Haotian stood up and said, "Go." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Qin Haotian turned around and walked out of the pavilion. Just as he turned around, 2 drops of tears quietly slipped down. After Qin Haotian left, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze, looked at Emperor Hong and the others, and smiled. "I knew it, I wouldn't be wrong about people." The faces of Emperor Hong and the others were also filled with gratification. Next, everyone sat in the pavilion, drinking tea and chatting, enjoying the last night. Gradually, the sky brightened. Qin Feiyang looked at the horizon, put down the teacup in his hand, and quietly released his spiritual will. Soon, he saw a scene that made his heart ache. No one was actually sleeping. They stood silently in front of the window, looking at him. Obviously, although he had deliberately concealed it, everyone had already noticed it. Moreover, in order to consider his feelings, no one said anything. They all chose to stand in the dark of the night and silently accompany him for the entire night. "Thank you," Qin Feiyang muttered, 2 drops of tears falling from the corner of his eyes. He then got up and stepped into the air without saying a word, disappearing step by step. All that was left was a back view that was imprinted in everyone's hearts, one that they would never forget. Chapter 28:19. Feiyang, Lu Qiuyu stood in front of the window and looked at Qin Feiyang's back as he left. She could no longer hold back her tears. The emperor silently held her in his arms. His heart was also extremely bitter. "Boss, do you think we're all stupid? Don't you know you're leaving? We've been with you for so many years." Fatso also hugged the reluctant Li Yan and muttered, "Bastard! You must come back alive." Ling Yunfei whispered, "Feiyang, we'll all wait for you at home." Old Man Ren Wushuang, Luo Qingzhu, Feng Ling Er, Yan Nanshan, Jiang Zhengyi, and others, were also silently sending Qin Feiyang off. Spirit State. The Sea of Despair. The surface of the sea in the morning was covered with a layer of white frost. A figure descended above the sea. It was Qin Feiyang. Without any concealment, his divine sense flooded into the undersea city. Whoosh! After a while, 4 figures swept out of the sea. They were the Mermaid Princess, the Mermaid Emperor, the Black-Winged King, and the White-Winged King. "Why didn't you go down directly? You even released your divine sense. Do you want me to carry you down in a palanquin?" The Mermaid Emperor looked at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and said, "We won't go down because we're leaving." "Leaving?" The 4 of them were stunned. The Mermaid Princess hurriedly said, "Feiyang, it's only been a few days." Qin Feiyang said, "Something happened, so we have to leave." The Mermaid Princess looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously, then looked at the Mermaid Emperor and said, "Father, take care of yourself at home. This is too sudden." The Mermaid Emperor frowned. "Yeah. Didn't you say you could stay for hundreds of years? What happened? Why did you leave so suddenly?" The Black-Winged Monarch and the White-Eyed Wolf also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. "It's nothing." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Who are you trying to fool? Leaving in such a hurry, something big must have happened." The Mermaid Emperor said, "Father, Feiyang has good intentions. He didn't tell you because he didn't want you to worry." The Mermaid Princess said. The Mermaid Emperor looked at the Mermaid Princess and sighed deeply. All right. But kid, you better listen carefully. You must take care of my daughter. If I find out that you bullied her, I will not let you off." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and said, "I can bully anyone, but not her." At least you have a conscience. Then, you can leave. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand and turned his head away, his face full of reluctance. Uncles, please take care of my father in the future. The Mermaid Princess said as she looked at the Black-Wing Monarch duo. Don't worry and go. The two of them smiled. Phew. The Mermaid Princess took a deep breath and looked at the Mermaid Emperor one last time. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, let's go. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled at the Black-Wing Monarch duo. Then, he pulled the Mermaid Princess and left without looking back. The Black-Wing Monarch patted the Mermaid Emperor's shoulder and said, Old man, if you don't take a few more looks, they will really be gone. If they are gone, so be it. The Mermaid Emperor snorted, but his eyes did not listen to him. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess. Seeing that the two of them were really going to disappear, the Mermaid Emperor quickly shouted, Daughter, you must protect yourself. I will, father. The Mermaid Princess stopped and turned to smile at the Mermaid Emperor. Then, she quickly disappeared into the sky with Qin Feiyang. Sigh. The Mermaid Emperor sighed deeply. Don't sigh. A married daughter is like water that has been poured out. The Black-Wing Monarch duo comforted him. The Mermaid Emperor said angrily, but she is not married yet. Is this any different from being married? Let's talk about it later. Young people have their own pursuits and stages. Old people like us should just stay at home and enjoy the rest of our lives. The Black-Wing Monarch laughed. When you were fighting with me for fame and fortune in the past, why didn't you have such awareness? The Mermaid Emperor rolled his eyes. Didn't you say it yourself? That was a fight for fame and fortune. Since it was a fight for fame and fortune, it was impossible for us to have such awareness. All right. Let's go and have a few drinks with you. The duo dragged the Mermaid Emperor and flew down. So that's what happened. In the sky above a mountain. After listening to Qin Feiyang's explanation, the Mermaid Princess nodded in realization. If not for the small beast, I would not have left so quickly. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The Mermaid Princess asked, Then, this promise of 10,000 years, are you serious about it? There's no escaping from it. Qin Feiyang said. That's true. The Mermaid Princess nodded. Not to mention anything else, just the Changshui. In order to take back Changshui, the battle between Qin Feiyang and the small beast would erupt sooner or later. Soon. The duo arrived at the Butterfly Valley. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Wang Xiaojie appeared. The current Wang Xiaojie had also stepped into the War God realm. Master's wife? Wang Xiaojie looked at the Mermaid Princess with a hint of surprise on his face. Long time no see. The Mermaid Princess smiled slightly. Wang Xiaojie scratched his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Master, you are too unreasonable. Master's wife is back, but you hid it from everyone. You talk too much? Qin Feiyang glared at him. Wang Xiaojie chuckled and asked, Why did you suddenly pull me out? It's about time, we have to leave. You should go back and take care of your sister. Qin Feiyang smiled. Leave? Wang Xiaojie was stunned. Weren't you there at the time? If I don't leave today, I'm afraid I'll be buried here forever. Qin Feiyang said. That's right. That small beast gave you 3 days. Wang Xiaojie nodded. 3,000 years had passed in the Black Tortoise world, and he had almost forgotten about it. Work hard. If you have time, go help Gongsun Bei and contribute to the Forgotten Continent. After all, we can't let your cultivation down, right? Qin Feiyang smiled. This, Wang Xiaojie hesitated. Qin Feiyang asked, You want to go to the ancient world with me? Hee hee. Wang Xiaojie laughed dryly. Don't even think about it. I'm already very happy that you can help me protect Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Xiaojia mumbled, but I really want to go and see it. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, there will be a chance in the future. All right then. Wang Xiaojia nodded helplessly and smiled, then master, mistress, take care. The two nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and opened the spatial gate. Aren't we going to look for Dong Zhengyang? Mermaid Princess asked. No. Since he didn't come yesterday, he must be prepared to stay in the Forgotten Continent. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and pulled Mermaid Princess into the spatial gate. Master, wait, where's Qin Chen? Wang Xiaojia suddenly called out to Qin Feiyang and asked. He has already returned to the Forgotten Continent. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and disappeared with Mermaid Princess. He has already returned? Wang Xiaojia was stunned. Demon Dragon Island. The statue was still standing by the sea, like a ruler overlooking the entire Great Qin. Beside the statue stood a man and a woman. This man and woman were Dong Zhengyang and Bai Long. Clang! In the sky. Accompanied by a loud sound, a stone door slowly opened. Dong Zhengyang looked up and smiled, it's the spatial gate, he's here. Bai Long glanced at Dong Zhengyang and looked up at the spatial gate, his face full of reluctance. Qin Feiyang and Mermaid Princess walked out hand in hand. When they saw Dong Zhengyang and Bai Long below, they were stunned. After putting away the spatial gate, Qin Feiyang brought Mermaid Princess and landed in front of Dong Zhengyang and smiled, there's no need to specially send me off. Send you off? Dong Zhengyang was stunned. Is it not? Seeing Dong Zhengyang's reaction, Qin Feiyang asked. Of course not. I've specially waited here for you to return to the ancient world together. Dong Zhengyang said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled bitterly, seeing that you didn't go to the imperial palace yesterday, I thought you were going to stay. Yesterday, we originally planned to go to the imperial palace, but thinking that it was a little inappropriate for us to go, we were all outsiders, so we didn't go. Dong Zhengyang said. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly smiled, looked at Bai Long, and asked with a smile, you're willing to let him go to his death? Bai Long looked at Dong Zhengyang and smiled, although I'm reluctant, as a man, should be responsible. Qin Feiyang smiled. For the first time, he realized that Bai Long's personality was actually quite good. It was just that he was cursed in the past, and his personality became a little extreme. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Zhengyang and asked, are you ready? Dong Zhengyang smiled faintly, looked at Bai Long, and said, then I'll be leaving. Protect yourself and help to protect Great Qin. Okay. Bai Long nodded and said with a little sob, you must come back alive. Life and death are fated, riches and honor are up to the heavens. If I can really come back alive, I'll openly marry you as Dong Zhengyang and hold a grand wedding ceremony for you. Dong Zhengyang said. I'll be waiting. Bai Long nodded, a weeping beauty. Dong Zhengyang raised his arm, gently wiped away the tears on Bai Long's face, and resolutely turned around and rushed into the sea. We'll meet again. Qin Feiyang smiled at Bai Long, then reluctantly glanced at the land, pulled the Mermaid Princess, and disappeared into the deep sea without looking back. It was also possible that they would never meet again, the teleportation altar to the miracle was in the deep sea. Although the conditions to revive the altar were harsh, it was not difficult for Qin Feiyang back then, let alone now. Soon. They returned to the second level of the miracle. Why are they so fast? Sensing the appearance of the three, the fire python immediately descended in front of them, and was quite surprised. Small Beast has given the order, do we dare to continue to stay? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. What? Lord Beast God has been to Great Qin. The fire python was shocked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, let's not talk about this. You secretly sent us back to Great Qin. Did small beast do anything to you? No. The fire python shook its head and said with a smile, because of this, I gained a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at it suspiciously. Now I'm not only the guardian of the first and second level, but also the guardian of the third level. The fire python laughed. No way. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. Chapter 28-20. Wasn't the guardian of the third floor equivalent to the guardian of the underworld king's hell? Needless to say, the fire python had really profited from a disaster. Because the first and second floors were on a completely different level from the third floor. Dong Zhengyang asked, then can you enter the temple to cultivate? Of course. The fire python nodded. Since he had already become the guardian of the third floor, it was natural for him to enter the temple to cultivate. After all, the temple had a time array, who didn't want to enter? Congratulations. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and smiled. You're welcome. The fire python shook his head. Since Brother Fire is now the guardian of the underworld king's hell, then I implore Brother Fire to take care of the blood demon race in the future. Because back then in the underworld king's hell, the blood demon race helped me a lot. Qin Feiyang said. Of course. The fire python smiled. Thank you. Qin Feiyang was grateful. Why are you thanking me as a friend? What are your plans next? The fire python asked. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said in a deep voice, I don't want to go to the underworld king's hell anymore, I want to go back to the ancient world directly. The chief pavilion master, Long Zun, and the other ancestral dragons all thought that he was in the underworld king's hell. If he were to return to the ancient world now, he would definitely be able to catch them off guard. The most important thing was, if he entered the underworld king's hell, he wouldn't be able to enter the castle to cultivate. The castle's time array was 1,000 years per day. It was a bit of a waste not being able to enter to cultivate. Return to the ancient world? The fire python frowned. I know that you can't help me anymore. As a friend, I won't make things difficult for you. I want to try it myself. Qin Feiyang said. You're going by yourself? The entrance to the ancient world is on the first floor. And you know the rules of the first floor. Once you surpass the War Emperor and enter the first floor, you will be erased by the rule force. Not to mention, you're still at the 9th heaven realm. If you go to the first floor now, you're courting death, do you know that? The fire python quickly said. Rule force. Qin Feiyang looked up at the sky, his eyes to say, why don't we stay on the second floor? Dong Zhengyang said. Staying on the second level meant entering the castle to cultivate in seclusion. That won't do. If I let you stay on the second floor and Lord Beast God finds out, he will definitely punish me. Simply speaking. You only have one choice now. Enter the hell of the King of Hell. The fire python said. Feiyang, you can enter hell too. At that time, you can go to the ancient city of the Serene King and cultivate in seclusion for a few hundred years. The ancient city's time array is also very powerful. By the time we leave hell, you'll be able to break through to the imperishable realm. The mermaid princess said. Qin Feiyang remained silent. Dong Zhengyang glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the fire python and cupped his hands. Brother Fire, may I ask where the entrance to the fourth floor is? The fourth floor? The fire python was slightly stunned. He frowned and asked, why are you suddenly asking about this? I'm just curious. Dong Zhengyang said. In the past few days, I've learned a bit about the Infernal King's Hell. The entrance to the fourth floor is in the east, which is the opposite direction of the Divine Demon Forest. However, to enter the 4th floor, you must first be at the imperishable realm. Other than Lord Beast God, even I can't send you to the 4th floor safely. Because the passage to the 4th floor is filled with a terrifying storm. This storm can kill any living being below the imperishable realm. The fire python said. So terrifying? Dong Zhengyang was shocked. Yes. In short, it's best not to go before reaching the imperishable realm. After the fire python finished speaking, it looked at Qin Feiyang again. It steeled its heart and closed its eyes. Dong Zhengyang and the mermaid princess looked at the fire python suspiciously. After a while, the fire python opened his eyes and said, Lord Beast God and Lord Ice Dragon are not in the divine ruins now. I'll send you to the ancient world. What? Qin Feiyang looked up at the fire python. I also found the entrance to the ancient world just now. There's no time to lose. Let's go now. After saying that, the fire python took the 3 of them and appeared in the sky above a plain on the 1st floor. There were fierce beasts everywhere on the plain. But at this moment, an extremely strange scene appeared. There was nothing in the void in front of them, but these fierce beasts were retreating in fear. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be scared out of their wits and think that they had seen a ghost. Qin Feiyang and the others were very familiar with it. The fire python waved his hand and a surge of divine power rushed forward. With a clang, an ancient stone door appeared out of thin air. This was the entrance to the ancient world. Brother Fire, thank you. If the small beast finds out, just say that you don't know anything and let it come to me. I have a way to deal with it. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The fire python nodded and said, take care. I look forward to seeing you next time. I look forward to it too. By the way, tell the madman and Yangli that I have returned to the ancient world. After Qin Feiyang said that, he led Dong Zhengyang and the mermaid princess into the stone door without looking back. The fire python also withdrew his divine power and the stone door disappeared into thin air. You must live. I'm still waiting for you to kill the fire dragon. The fire python muttered and then disappeared into thin air. Northern region. Land of the undead. As always, it was incomparably dark. The air was filled with a rotten and tragic smell. Qin Feiyang glanced at the familiar land and looked at Dong Zhengyang and the mermaid princess. He smiled and said, you two go to the Black Tortoise world first. Okay. The 2 of them nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the 2 of them to the Black Tortoise world. Then, he took Hua Yi and the 5-clawed golden dragon out. This is? Hua Yi glanced around. That's right. Land of the undead. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Hua Yi grinned and said, okay, we can go to Dongling. Speaking of Dongling, the 5-clawed golden dragon's eyes lit up. Thinking about immortal intoxication all day long. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them speechlessly. The 5-clawed golden dragon also maintained his human form. He was a middle-aged man in golden clothes. What do you know? Hua Yi pursed his lips. The 3 of them rushed out of the land of the undead and went straight to 9 Heavens Palace. 9 Heavens Palace. Peak of the mountain. An old man in white sat cross-legged in front of the heaven stairway. Although countless disciples came and went, the old man never opened his eyes. This person was Elder Wei. Shengguan Fenglan's master was also one of the guardians of 9 Heavens Palace. Swish! Suddenly, 3 figures descended on the peak of the mountain. It was Qin Feiyang and the other 2. However, Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi had changed their appearances in order not to cause a sensation. Sensing the aura of Qin Feiyang and the other 2, Elder Wei finally opened his eyes. 2 cold lights burst out of his eyes. The disciples who came and went also stopped and looked at the three unfamiliar faces. Elder Wei. Qin Feiyang stepped forward, bowed respectfully, and transmitted his voice, "I am Qin Feiyang." Elder Wei's heart moved. He turned to look at the disciples next to him and waved his hand. "What are you all looking at?" The group of disciples suddenly dispersed. Elder Wei retracted his gaze and looked at Hua Yi and the five-clawed golden dragon, frowning. "Which one of you is the vice palace master?" "Me," Hua Yi said. Elder Wei immediately looked at Hua Yi, his face full of anger, and secretly said, "No matter what, you are still the vice palace master. How can you run around all day? Don't I have you guys here? Why should I stay in Nine Heavens Palace?" Hua Yi pouted. "How can we be the same as you?" Elder Wei was helpless. "What's the difference?" "Enough. Little Gold, let's go to East Tomb. Qin Feiyang, hurry up and tell me what you need to tell me." Hua Yi left a sentence and went straight to the teleportation altar above the stairway with the five-clawed golden dragon. Because Qin Feiyang had already used the space-time gate in Great Qin, he could only go to East Tomb through the altar. Sigh. Elder Wei couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head in amusement and transmitted his voice, "Elder Wei, how has everyone been these years?" "Pretty good." Elder Wei nodded and asked, "How about you guys?" "We're pretty good too," Qin Feiyang said. "Last time, the Vice Palace Master came back and said you guys were going to hell?" Elder Wei said. Qin Feiyang nodded. "Is it over?" Elder Wei asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Not yet. I ran back halfway." "You can run back halfway?" Elder Wei was stunned. "It's a long story. This time I'm here mainly to give you guys something," Qin Feiyang secretly said. "What is it?" Elder Wei was suspicious. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and more than 10,000 jade slips and more than 10,000 divine artifacts appeared. Elder Wei was surprised. "This is what Senior Brother Frenzy and I got in hell. We agreed that each of us would get half. His half was prepared for the Nine Heavens Palace. Although those supreme divine artifacts are with him now, these divine artifacts I'm giving you are all legendary and pinnacle grade," Qin Feiyang said. "So many?" Elder Wei was dumbfounded. These divine artifacts were indeed legendary and pinnacle grade. And there were not only legendary and pinnacle grade divine arts, but also supreme grade. What exactly was the Underworld King's hell? There were so many terrifying divine artifacts. Wait. Where's Frenzy? Why don't I see him? Suddenly, Elder Wei glanced behind Qin Feiyang and hurriedly asked. "He's still in hell," Qin Feiyang said. Elder Wei was surprised. "Why is he still in hell? Could it be?" "Don't think too much, don't think too much, he's fine. On the contrary, he has a great fortune now. Because he's receiving the inheritance of the law." Qin Feiyang smiled. Elder Wei was shocked. "There's still the inheritance of the law in hell?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Unbelievable." Elder Wei murmured, looking at Qin Feiyang, and said with a hoarse smile, "Thank you. With these divine artifacts and divine arts, the strength of my Jiutian palace will instantly increase by several times." "You're being too polite. Jiutian Palace has given me and Senior Brother Frenzy a new lease of life. Of course, we all hope that Jiutian Palace can become better and better," Qin Feiyang said. "It's enough that you guys can have this kind of heart." Elder Wei was very pleased. "Hurry up and keep it, lest other disciples see it. Also, it's best not to spread the news that I gave you guys the divine artifacts and divine arts," Qin Feiyang reminded. "This old man knows. After all, there are so many divine artifacts and divine arts. As long as one isn't a fool, they will guess and be suspicious. Elder Wei nodded. With a wave of his old hand, all the divine arts and divine artifacts disappeared into the yin and yang ring. Chapter 28-21. In addition, Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, looked at Old Wei and said, "I'll give you another 100 crystal veins and soul veins." Crystal veins, soul veins? Old Wei was slightly taken aback, shook his head and said, "We have all of these, you don't have to give them to us." "Are you sure you don't want them? These aren't ordinary crystal veins and soul lines." Qin Feiyang laughed. "Although this old man has never been to the divine land, I can be considered as someone who has seen the world. Other than the divine level soul veins and crystal veins, they are nothing in my eyes." Old Wei chuckled. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Did Old Wei think that he was going to give him the soul veins and crystal veins below the divine level? If it's rank 1 or 2 divine level soul veins and crystal veins, this old man can still consider it. Old Wei said again. "Old senior, you're looking down on this junior." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. A mere rank 1 or 2 divine level soul veins and crystal veins, he couldn't take them out. Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, Old Wei couldn't help but be suspicious. Could it be that it was more than rank 1 or 2? "Come with me, elder." Qin Feiyang didn't explain much, turned around and landed in a valley below, and transmitted his voice, "Fire Lotus, are you ready? Is it necessary?" Fire Lotus asked secretly. "Of course. You and Hua Yi have helped me so much all these years, what's a mere crystal vein and soul vein?" Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "That's right. Giving the crystal vein and soul vein to 9 Heaven Palace was all because of Fire Lotus and Hua Yi. Especially Fire Lotus, who had been helping him all these years. It could be said that without Fire Lotus, there wouldn't be the current Black Tortoise realm. Because the current Black Tortoise realm was created by Fire Lotus. So, putting himself in their shoes, he naturally wouldn't mistreat Fire Lotus and 9 Heaven Palace. "All right." Fire Lotus responded. Soon. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and 100 crystal veins and soul veins appeared. "This is?" Elder Wei stood beside Qin Feiyang. At first, he didn't think much of it, but when he saw these crystal veins and soul lines with his own eyes, he was shocked. Even though he was knowledgeable and experienced, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the 100 crystal veins and spirit veins. This was because he discovered that he couldn't see through the levels of these crystal veins and soul veins. "These are all rank 8 deities." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Level 8. God Realm," Old Wei muttered, his eyes filled with shock. "You couldn't find a single crystal vein and soul vein of this level in the entire 4 regions. Perhaps it was rare even in the Divine Land." When he came back to his senses, Elder Wei hurriedly waved his hand and said, "This is too precious. I don't deserve it. Why are you being so polite with me?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "This old man is not being polite with you. You're facing dragons now. What you need the most is cultivation resources. This kind of supreme treasure is the most helpful to you. Don't give it to us. It's a waste." Elder Wei shook his head. Taking out 100 rank 8 spirit veins and crystal veins in one go was simply too shocking. Spirit veins and crystal veins of this level were legendary existences in his eyes. "I still have a lot." Qin Feiyang smiled. "A lot?" Elder Wei was stunned. "Yes. Back in the Divine Land, I snatched a lot of crystal veins and soul veins. And now, the time rule of the Black Tortoise realm is 1,000 years, so they've all evolved to rank 8 deities." Qin Feiyang said. 1,000 years in a day. The corner of Elder Wei's mouth twitched. These were all monsters. After pondering for a while, he said, "Well, this old man won't stand on ceremony with you." It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted by the rank 8 deities' soul veins and crystal veins. It was only because he considered that Qin Feiyang and the others needed more crystal veins and soul veins, so he refused. But now, since Qin Feiyang said that he had a lot, he certainly didn't stand on ceremony. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and asked, "How is Shangguanqiu now?" She went to the Divine Land a long time ago." Elder Wei said. "What? She went to the Divine Land?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Yes. The last time the Pavilion Master went to the Divine Land, he took Shangguanqiu with him. The Pavilion Master came back and said that Shangguanqiu chose to stay in the Divine Land." Elder Wei said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Why did they go to the Divine Land? Didn't they tell you before that the Chief Pavilion Master would go to the Divine Land every 100 years? Elder Wei asked. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and nodded. "Yes, but it's been so long that I forgot." It was the Deputy Pavilion Master who told him this. Therefore, he went to the Deputy Pavilion Master to inquire about the dragons. The Deputy Pavilion Master told him that if he really wanted to go to the Divine Land, he could go together with the Pavilion Master. Qin Feiyang also asked how long it would take for the Pavilion Master to go to the Divine Land. The Deputy Pavilion Master answered that it would take 50 years. Qin Feiyang couldn't wait 50 years, so he didn't take it to heart. Shangguanqiu entered the Divine Land after he entered the Hell of the Nether King. And he stayed in the Hell of the Nether King for more than 200 years. In other words, Shangguanqiu had stayed in the Divine Land for almost 200 years. Why did she stay in the Divine Land? Qin Feiyang frowned. Elder Wei sighed. Do you still need to think about it? Any sensible person knows that she must have done it for you. Silly woman. Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked, "Did the Pavilion Master say where she is in the Divine Land now?" "You'll have to ask Shangguan Fenglan or the Pavilion Master," Elder Wei said. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and sighed. "She can't stay in the treasure house of the Divine Land." "What do you mean?" "She's a member of the treasure house. Isn't it good to stay in the treasure house?" Elder Wei was suspicious. "There are some things that you don't understand." Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "That's it for now. I'll go find the Pavilion Master." "Okay." Elder Wei nodded. Qin Feiyang opened an altar and walked up. "Strange." Elder Wei shook his head, put away the vein of soul and vein of crystal, and returned to the Ninth Heaven Palace. When he found the first elder, explained this matter, and took out the vein of soul, vein of crystal, divine weapons, and divine arts, the first elder was also shocked. Then, the first elder was filled with emotion. He didn't expect that in just a few hundred years, Qin Feiyang and Frenzy had grown to such a level and given such a rich reward to the Ninth Heaven realm. In the southwest of the northern region, there was a stretch of undulating mountains. Somewhere in the mountain, there was a valley. In the valley, there was a courtyard, and beside the courtyard, there was a small pond. Inside, lotus leaves stood tall and lotus flowers bloomed. In addition, there was a vegetable garden around. Numerous green wild vegetables, exuding vitality, swayed in the wind. From the looks of it, it was as if an ordinary family lived here. Everything appeared ordinary and plain. However, when Qin Feiyang came here and looked at the courtyard in front of him, his face was full of respect. Huff. Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang recovered his true appearance and bowed. Junior Qin Feiyang requests to see the Pavilion Master. Duh. At that moment, a burst of hurried footsteps sounded, and a woman walked out of the house. The woman was about 35 or 36 years old, wearing a red dress. Her black hair was tied up high, with an exquisite jade hairpin in the middle, looking dignified and virtuous. Moreover, she was very kind, without any threatening aura. Although there were crow's feet at the corner of her eyes, whether it was her figure or skin, they were all like a young girl. "It's really you?" The pavilion master stood at the door and looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. The pavilion master walked quickly to Qin Feiyang and asked, "Didn't you go to the hell of Hades?" "I just came back." Qin Feiyang said. "That's not right. I heard that this hell of Hades can only come out after 1,000 years. Are you really Qin Feiyang?" The pavilion master frowned. Qin Feiyang took out a heaven's eye stone, held it in his hand, and said with a wry smile, "It's real." Seeing that the heaven's eye stone did not respond for a long time, the pavilion master was finally relieved and asked suspiciously, "It's not time yet, how did you come out?" "By chance, I found a way out." Qin Feiyang smiled vaguely. The pavilion master rolled his eyes, obviously not believing it, but he did not continue to ask and said, "Come in and sit." Qin Feiyang walked into the yard and followed the pavilion master to the stone table next to him. The pavilion master smiled and said, "Why did you suddenly come to me?" Qin Feiyang sighed and said, "There's something I have to ask." "What is it?" The pavilion master was suspicious. "Shengguan Qiu," Qin Feiyang said. The pavilion master was stunned and asked, "You've seen her?" "I haven't returned to the Divine Land yet, how could I see her? I just went to see Elder Wei, and he told me that Shengguan Qiu stayed in the Divine Land, so I came to you to ask about the details." Qin Feiyang said. "I see." The pavilion master nodded and said with a smile, "After I took her to the Divine Land, I went to the Divine Land again." "She's doing well in the Divine Land, then where is she?" Qin Feiyang asked. The pavilion master smiled and said, "The treasure school in the Holy Dragon City." "She really went to the treasure school, and it's the treasure school in the Holy Dragon City." Qin Feiyang's face suddenly darkened. "What's wrong?" Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, the pavilion master was puzzled. "What's she doing in the treasure school?" Qin Feiyang asked instead of answering. "Of course, she's helping the steward of the treasure school in the Holy Dragon City to take care of the treasure school's affairs," Qin Feiyang said. The steward of the treasure school, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and his divine power emerged and condensed into a round fatso. "That's him. Last time I visited Qiu, she said that the steward treats her very well. And she made a friend called Ren Xiaolan. Ren Xiaolan is also helping the steward to take care of the treasure school's affairs," the pavilion master said. "Whether it's the steward or Ren Xiaolan, I know them all. This Ren Xiaolan is valued by the steward because of me." Qin Feiyang sighed. The pavilion master said suspiciously, "They're all people you know. Isn't that good? Why do you look so sad? There are some things that you don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "What are you trying to say?" The pavilion master frowned. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "Do they know about my relationship with Shengguan Qiu?" "They know. That's why the chief pavilion master let Qiu, stay in the Holy Dragon City." The pavilion master nodded. "What? You've seen the chief pavilion master?" Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up. "We didn't see him with our own eyes, but according to the steward of the treasure school in the Holy Dragon City, the chief pavilion master seemed to be very happy after knowing about your relationship with Qiu, The pavilion master smiled. Chapter 28-22. She was worried that she couldn't deal with me, and now you're giving her such a good bargaining chip. Of course, she's happy. Qin Feiyang snorted. Deal with you? Bargaining chip? The cabinet master was surprised. That's right. You're giving her timely help by sending Shengguan Qiu to her. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What do you mean by that? The cabinet master was confused. Don't you understand? The chief cabinet master and I are enemies. You're just causing trouble for me. Qin Feiyang said angrily. If he didn't know the cabinet master well, he would have suspected that the cabinet master was deliberately targeting him. What? Your enemies? The cabinet master was surprised. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. After calming down, he asked, You've been to the Divine Land. You should have heard of the dragon-slaying palace, right? I've heard a little about it. The cabinet master said. The dragon-slaying palace has 4 sovereigns. 2 of them are my 2 ancestors. Of the remaining 2, one is Supreme Cloud and the other is Supreme Beast. Supreme Beast has already submitted to me. Now, only Supreme Cloud is left. Supreme Cloud is the chief cabinet master of the treasure school. Qin Feiyang said. The chief cabinet master is one of the 4 sovereigns of the dragon-slaying palace? The cabinet master was shocked. Yes. Although she's a sovereign of the dragon-slaying palace, she's tried to get rid of me more than once because of her ambition. She even fought with me in the Nether King's Hell. But in the end, she died in the hands of senior brother Lunatic. Think about it. Now that you've sent Shengguan Qiu to her, how can she not be happy? Qin Feiyang said. How could this be? The cabinet master murmured. Shengguan Qiu was not only her disciple, but also her biological daughter. But now, she had pushed Shengguan Qiu into the fire pit. Wait. Since the chief cabinet master is dead, does that mean Yu's crisis no longer exists? The cabinet master asked. It's not as simple as you think. Supreme Cloud's divine soul's hell before she went there. In other words, even if we kill her in the underworld king's hell, she will be reborn. Qin Feiyang sighed. What do we do now? The pavilion master panicked. What else can we do? Of course we're going to the divine prefecture and rescue her from the treasure pavilion. Qin Feiyang said. Then go quickly. The pavilion master urged. We can't go now. We have to wait until dawn. Qin Feiyang shook his head. This was because they had to wait until dawn to open the gate of time and space. I'm sorry, I really didn't know about this. If I had known, I wouldn't have brought her to the divine continent no matter how much Qiu begged me. I wouldn't have left her in the divine continent either. The pavilion master looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of self-blame. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and said, I don't blame you. After all, you are in the northern region and know nothing about the situation in the divine land. Just now, it was also my fault. I couldn't help but get angry with you. It's all right. You're also worried about Qiu. The pavilion master waved his hand. Actually, it's my fault. Shengguan Qiu went to the divine continent because of me. If I had been more ruthless back then and made her hate me more, I don't think this would have happened. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Silly boy. You don't understand things like love. Sometimes, the deeper the hatred, the deeper the love. The pavilion master sighed. Suddenly, Hua Yi and the 5-clawed golden dragon appeared and asked suspiciously, What are you doing here? Qin Feiyang looked up at the 2 of them and asked in surprise, Why are you here? We came back from Dongling and heard from Old Man Wei that you hurriedly came to find the pavilion master, so we came to see if something had happened. The 2 of them landed beside Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang asked, So, you've already gotten the immortal wine? Of course. Hua Yi nodded and smiled proudly. And this time, we've completely emptied the wine cellar of the Heaven Immortal Tower. Qin Feiyang shook his head speechlessly. Hua Yi frowned. Let's get down to business. Did something happen? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and briefly explained the situation. This, Hua Yi frowned and looked at the pavilion master. Why are you so silly? Sigh. The pavilion master lowered his head and blamed himself. Hua Yi sat at the side and shook his head. It's my fault. When I went to Dongling with little gold to buy the immortal wine, should have informed you. After Hua Yi finished speaking, he became angry again. But who would have thought that this silly girl would run to the divine continent? Enough. Qin Feiyang stared at Hua Yi and said, for now, Shangguan Qiu shouldn't be in any danger. Hua Yi and the other two looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. In the eyes of the pavilion master, we're still in hell. So, there's no point in attacking Shangguan Qiu now. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. Even if she wants to use Shangguan Qiu to threaten you, she'll have to wait until hell is closed. As for now, I think she'll just send someone to monitor Shangguan Qiu's whereabouts. Hua Yi nodded. So, this time, we'll go back to the ancient world and play a key role. Because the pavilion master won't think that we've already returned to the ancient world, so there won't be any precautions. After midnight, we'll go to the divine continent. If nothing goes wrong, we'll be able to easily take Shangguan Qiu away. Qin Feiyang said. It seems that going back to the ancient world is a wise choice. Hua Yi laughed. If they entered hell again and left a few hundred years later, the pavilion master would catch Shangguan Qiu and kill them all when they were unprepared. Actually, there's another crucial point. It's only been a little more than 100 years since the pavilion master was killed. I think the pavilion master's divine soul and divine body haven't been rebuilt yet. The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly said. Yes. The pavilion master's cultivation is at the great achievement eternal realm. It'll take at least tens of thousands of years to rebuild her divine body and divine soul. Hua Yi nodded. What's right? Didn't great-grandmother and the others say that the dragon-slaying palace also has a time formation? Although this time formation isn't very good, it can last 50 years in a day. 50 years in a day, 500 years in 10 days, and 5,000 years in 100 days. More than 100 years have passed. She should have rebuilt her divine soul and divine body long ago. Qin Feiyang said. You didn't think of this, did you? Hua Yi smiled proudly. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Think about it. She didn't trust Qin Badian and Lu Zhengyang. Why would she put her split divine soul in the dragon-slaying palace? Then don't mention entering the dragon-slaying palace to rebuild her divine soul and divine body. You should know that your two ancestors aren't good people. If they knew this, would they let go of this opportunity? Definitely not. So, the chief pavilion master doesn't dare to enter the dragon-slaying palace to rebuild her divine body and divine soul. Hua Yi smiled. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. So I'm sure that she hasn't rebuilt her complete divine soul and divine body. And this is an opportunity for us. We can directly control her divine soul. If she doesn't surrender, we'll destroy her. Hua Yi sneered. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, it's useless to say this now. What if she has other ways? Let's wait until we reach the divine land. Hua Yi smiled and said, okay, I'll go back and see Lan, Qin Feiyang said, don't tell her about Shangguan Qiu's current situation. Do I need you to remind me? Hua Yi glanced at Qin Feiyang indifferently, opened an altar, and left without looking back. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and waved his hand. Qin Chen appeared in front of him. Qin Feiyang pointed at the woman and said, this is the pavilion master of the treasure pavilion. You should call her senior. Greetings, senior. Qin Chen bowed respectfully. He is? The pavilion master glanced at Qin Chen and then looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. He's one of my Qin Feiyang glanced at Qin Chen with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. Finally, he looked at the pavilion master and smiled. He's my disciple. Disciple? Qin Chen was stunned. The pavilion master was also surprised. She looked up at Qin Chen and smiled. You're lucky to be able to become Qin Feiyang's disciple. Qin Chen wanted to say something but stopped. The five-clawed golden dragon shook his head helplessly and said, Silly boy, why aren't you greeting your master? Okay. Qin Chen came back to his senses and quickly knelt on the ground, saying respectfully, Disciple greets master. Get up. Little Gold, since you're free now, take him to the north region and let him see the scenery of the ancient world. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The five-clawed golden dragon nodded and picked up Qin Chen as if he was picking up a chick, disappearing into the distance. The pavilion master looked at the back of the five-clawed golden dragon and asked suspiciously, Feiyang, who is this little gold? Why do I feel that his aura is very strong? His real body is a five-clawed golden dragon, and his cultivation is also in the eternal realm. I subdued him in the divine land. Qin Feiyang smiled. Five-clawed golden dragon. The pavilion master was shocked. The five-clawed golden dragon was a divine dragon with an extremely orthodox bloodline power. Even among the dragons, it was rare. Qin Feiyang had subdued a five-clawed golden dragon. Did the dragons know about this? Would they come to find trouble with him? Don't worry. The dragons wouldn't dare to find trouble with me even if they knew. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. The pavilion master was slightly stunned and said with a wry smile, That's true. After all, even in the divine land, you are very famous now. Thinking back to when Qin Feiyang first appeared in the northern region, he didn't have any cultivation at all. If it weren't for his clever mind, he would have died long ago. But now, he had stepped into the greater ninth heaven realm. This speed was really too fast for others to catch up with. Qin Feiyang suddenly transmitted a voice to Dan Wangkai in the castle, refine a Triyuan True Spirit elixir for me. I have it ready-made. Dan Wangkai was looking for herbs in the herb field. When he heard Qin Feiyang's voice, he immediately responded. Then give it to me. I can raise my cultivation to the peak of the ninth heaven realm. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Okay. Dan Wangkai responded, took out a jade box, and took out an elixir. Outside. Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and the elixir appeared in his hand out of thin air. This was the Triyuan True Spirit elixir. Gold, purple, and silver, like three ribbons, intertwined together, looking extremely beautiful. There were also three dragon-shaped elixir chi lingering on it. What kind of elixir is this? The pavilion master looked at the Triyuan True Spirit elixir curiously. An elixir that can help me break through my cultivation. Qin Feiyang chuckled and put the Triyuan True Spirit elixir into his mouth. Boom! Soon. A surge of majestic energy exploded within his body. Qin Feiyang's aura also burst out uncontrollably. In less than 3 breaths. His cultivation suddenly soared to the peak of the ninth heaven realm. However, right at the moment when he thought that it was the end, his cultivation began to soar once again. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Young master, I forgot to tell you. This Triyuan True Spirit elixir is the same as the Chaos Divine elixir and the Yin-Yang Chaos elixir. The Triyuan True Spirit elixir with 3 dragon-shaped elixir chi has a 30% chance of increasing one's cultivation by 2 small realms. Dan Wangcai's voice suddenly sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Why didn't you say so earlier? Qin Feiyang said angrily. If he had said so earlier, he would have refined one himself. This way, there would be a 40% chance. Because at that time, he didn't look at the elixir recipe very carefully, so he didn't know there was such a thing. I thought you knew. Dan Wangkai chuckled. You guy. Qin Feiyang felt helpless. Feeling the soaring aura, he was extremely nervous. If he could suddenly reach the peak of the ninth heaven realm, it would undoubtedly save a lot of time. And now, what he needed the most was cultivation. Because the peak of the ninth heaven realm was a threshold. Once he stepped into the peak of the ninth heaven realm, he was only one step away from the half-step invincible realm. Boom! Time passed breath by breath. Under Qin Feiyang's nervous expectation, his cultivation suddenly soared to the peak of the ninth heaven realm. Great! Qin Feiyang also excitedly slapped the stone table and suddenly stood up. His face was full of excitement. This time, even the white-eyed wolf would be speechless. After all, there was only a 30% chance. No way. At the same time, the pavilion master sitting opposite him was also dumbfounded. He actually broke through 2 small realms in a row. What kind of elixir was this? It was unbelievable. One had to know. This was the ninth heaven realm. Not the god of war or the divine lord. It was incredible. If this elixir was auctioned, wouldn't it cause a frenzy among the people of the 4 major regions? No, it would be a bloodbath. Chapter 28-23. Qin Feiyang restrained his energy and looked at the cabinet master's drooling face. What are you thinking? Well, the cabinet master stammered. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. If the treasure pavilion had nothing to do with Supreme Cloud, would definitely give you this pill without hesitation. The cabinet master smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at the cabinet master. I have a question for you. What is it? The cabinet master was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, if Supreme Cloud is killed one day and the treasure pavilion falls into my hands, will you be my enemy? The cabinet master shook his head. I only want to see the rise of the human race. Nothing else matters. What about the people in Dongling, Shima, and Nanhuang? Qin Feiyang asked. The cabinet master smiled. They should be thinking the same thing as me. I see. Qin Feiyang smiled. He wasn't afraid that the cabinet master would be his enemy. After all, with his current foundation, he could dominate the 4 major regions. Like all the powerful divine artifacts. There were also Fire Lotus, Hua Yi, Feng Daji, and the 5-clawed golden dragon. People like Xiao Tai Lai, the Blood Kirin, and the demon ancestor were also trying to break through to the eternal realm. He believed that it wouldn't be long before the number of eternal realm overlords around him reached double digits. Although they still couldn't compare to the dragons, they were invincible in the 4 major regions. However, the cabinet master, the deputy cabinet master, and Elder Pang of the Dongling Treasure Pavilion had all helped and supported him before, so he wanted to know their positions in advance. This way, he could think of a way to deal with it in advance. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment. Cabinet Master, have you heard of the Blood Ancestor? Blood Ancestor? The Cabinet Master paused and shook his head. Never heard of him at all. Qin Feiyang heard this and a trace of disappointment appeared in his eyes. But on second thought, even the Divine Land didn't know much about the Blood Ancestor, let alone the Cabinet Master of the North region. Is this person very important? The Pavilion Master was doubtful. It's not that important. Qin Feiyang shook his head. The Pavilion Master nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and asked, "Can you help me contact the Great Elder?" "All right." The Pavilion Master took out an image crystal. Wang. Very soon, the phantom of an old man appeared. This old man was none other than the Great Elder of the Nine Heavens Palace. At this moment, the First Elder was brimming with joy and happiness. The pavilion master asked curiously, "What's so good that you're so happy?" "I can't tell you, I can't tell you." The Grand Elder waved his hand. The reason he was happy was naturally because of the soul vein, crystal vein, divine artifact, and divine art that Qin Feiyang had given to the Nine Heavens Palace. However, before Elder Wei left, he repeatedly reminded him not to tell anyone about it. This old man has actually learned how to act mysterious? The pavilion master was speechless. "Someone is looking for you." "Looking for me?" The Grand Elder was taken aback. The pavilion master turned the image crystal to face Qin Feiyang. "Grand Elder." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "It's you." The Grand Elder immediately smiled even more happily and said, "I was still complaining. It's not easy to return to the northern region, but you didn't come to see this old man. I didn't want to cause a sensation. Besides, hasn't Hua Yi already returned to the Nine Heavens Palace?" Qin Feiyang said. "How could that kid Hua Yi come to see me? He must be surrounding Shangguan Fenglan." The Grand Elder shook his head. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. It seemed that other than Elder Wei, no one knew Hua Yi's true identity. Qin Feiyang said, "Grand Elder, I asked the pavilion master to send you a message mainly to ask you, do you know Senior Brother Madman?" "N?" The Grand Elder was slightly taken aback and said unhappily, "Look at what you're saying. He's my grandson, of course I know him." Although he wasn't his biological grandson, he had always treated Madman as his own grandson. "Then do you know his background?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Background?" The Grand Elder was taken aback, then frowned and said, "Don't say, I really don't know about his background. I only heard Mo Wuyuan say that he accidentally met him outside." Mo Wuyuan was the Grand Elder's son, Madman's adoptive father. "Then why do you say you know?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. The Grand Elder said, "Apart from his background, this old man naturally knows about everything else." Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked again, "Then do you know that Senior Brother Madman has mastered a heaven-defying divine art?" "This old man knows." The Grand Elder nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Then do you know who taught him this heaven-defying divine art?" "According to him, it seems that a mysterious senior gave it to him. But he didn't say the details. You've been with him for so long, so you know his character. If he doesn't want to say it, it's useless even if you force him." The Grand Elder was a little helpless. "That's the truth." Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Madman had such a character. This time, he had wanted to ask the Great Elder about it and pay a visit to that old senior. But now it seemed that he could only wait for Madman to return from hell. The Grand Elder asked suspiciously, "Why did you suddenly think of investigating this kid's background?" "To tell you the truth, we encountered a lot of strange things in hell. Especially Senior Brother Madman. Not only can he absorb the evil force, but he also obtained the sacred artifact of the Blood Demon race, the Blood Demon Tower." Qin Feiyang said. "Evil force? Blood Demon race? Blood Demon Tower?" The Grand Elder and Pavilion Master looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. What were these things? The Blood Demon race is the ruler of hell. The Blood Demon Tower is a heaven-defying divine artifact. As for the evil force, let me put it this way, even the ancestral dragons can't refine and absorb it, but not only can Senior Brother Madman refine it, he can also use it for cultivation. Don't you think this is strange? And I heard from Senior Brother Madman that the old senior who gave him the heaven-defying divine art told him that if he had the chance to enter hell, he must enter. So I personally think that all of this is related to this old senior. Originally, Senior Brother Madman and I agreed that after leaving hell, we will visit that old senior together. But now, Senior Brother Madman is still in hell because he is receiving the inheritance. So I thought, why don't we visit this old senior first? So I asked Pavilion Master to send you a message, asking if you know where this person lives? But now it seems that we have to wait for Senior Brother Madman to return from hell to find him. Qin Feiyang shook his head regretfully. So that's how it is. The Grand Elder suddenly understood and shook his head. I really can't help with this matter. It's okay. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Then do you want to come to Nine Heavens Palace to take a look? The Grand Elder asked with a smile. I won't cause trouble for you. Qin Feiyang shook his head. All right then. Come back and take a look when you have time. The Grand Elder said. Qin Feiyang nodded. After the conversation ended, Pavilion Master put away the image crystal and asked curiously, what kind of inheritance did Madman receive in hell? The inheritance of the power of law. Qin Feiyang said. The inheritance of the power of law? The corner of Pavilion Master's mouth twitched. You only know how to joke. I'm not joking with you. Qin Feiyang said. Is it true? Pavilion Master was slightly stunned and frowned. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. Pavilion Master's heart suddenly surged. There was even the inheritance of the power of law. What kind of place was hell? In the blink of an eye. Dawn was approaching. Whoosh. Hua Yi finally returned. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. You haven't told everyone your identity yet? Hua Yi was originally very happy and seemed to be getting along well with Shengguan Fenglan, but when he heard Qin Feiyang's words, he suddenly cried and sighed. How would I dare to say it? Qin Feiyang secretly said, then you can't continue to hide it like this. Of course I know. But I'm really worried that when Lan knows my identity, she will fall out with me. Hua Yi frowned. You can only deal with this matter as you see fit. I can't help you. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Sigh. I'm just looking for trouble. Hua Yi rubbed his forehead. You really deserve it. Qin Feiyang had a gloating expression on his face. Whoosh. Soon. The five-clawed golden dragon also returned with Qin Chen. Greetings, Master. Qin Chen bowed. How do you feel after seeing the North region? Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Chen and asked with a smile. Beyond imagination. Qin Chen shook his head, his face full of shock. Just the northern region alone was bigger than Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent combined. Not to mention the strong warriors, there were as many war gods as dogs. It could be said that Great Qin and Forgotten Continent were on a completely different level compared to the ancient world. Ignorant. A mere north region can shock you to this extent. Then when you reach the Divine Continent, won't your eyeballs pop out? Hua Yi looked down on him. Qin Chen did not refute, and said, I don't have much knowledge to begin with. Hua Yi was stunned. He thought that Qin Chen would talk back, but he did not expect him to admit it. This kid was not bad. His personality was more down-to-earth, and he did not have the feeling of biting off more than he could chew. Qin Feiyang looked at the night sky. Dawn had arrived. Then Qin Feiyang stood up, looked at the Pavilion Master, and cupped his hands. Thank you, Senior, for your hospitality today. What hospitality? I'm just chatting with you. The Pavilion Master stood up and smiled, and then said in a deep voice, no matter what, please save Qiu and take good care of her. I will. Qin Feiyang nodded and took out the gate of time and space. Clang. With the influx of divine power, the gate of time and space quickly recovered. Whoosh. Looking at the opened gate of time and space, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and he said, let's go. With that, he stepped into the gate of time and space. Hua Yi and Qin Chen nodded to the Pavilion Master and also entered the gate of time and space. Sigh. When the gate of time and space disappeared, the pavilion master sat alone under the night sky, sighing. She had good intentions in leaving Shengguanqiu in the Divine Continent. Because working in the treasure pavilion in the Divine Continent had a better future than in the North region. But she did not expect that it would harm Shengguanqiu. Nothing must happen to you. Otherwise, I will feel guilty and blame myself for the rest of my life. Now, she could only pray that nothing would happen halfway. Chapter 28-24. China. Cloud Mountain Village. The appearance of the Gate of Time and Space would not cause any commotion. After all, a few hundred years had passed, and the original ruins had been covered. Cloud Mountain Village had now become a green mountain and clear water. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang put away the Gate of Time and Space and scanned the mountains below. The matter of Li Feng involuntarily surfaced in his mind. Ancestor Shui, where was this peerless figure from the previous era hiding? This is China? Qin Chen looked around curiously. Apart from the rich essence energy, it didn't look any different from other places. Go to the Black Tortoise world first and find Fire Lotus to get a few supreme godly arts. Cultivate well. Now that you have such good cultivation conditions, hurry up and break through to the imperishable realm. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Qin Chen. Qin Chen nodded. He could see that his master had great expectations of him, so he couldn't let his master down no matter what. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Qin Chen to the Black Tortoise world. Then he took out all the godly arts and artifacts and handed them all to Fire Lotus. He had originally planned to leave these godly arts and artifacts for the people of the Black Tortoise world. As for how to give them to the people of the Black Tortoise world, Fire Lotus had its own way of dealing with them, so he didn't need to ask. Then what's next? Hua Yi turned to look at Qin Feiyang. If you ask me, let's loot the Dragon God Palace first. The five-clawed golden dragon said. You're really savage. Hua Yi was speechless. Qin Feiyang also looked helplessly at the five-clawed golden dragon. He pondered for a moment and said, I'll go to Holy Dragon City to take a look. You guys go and find out about Yi Zhong and the dragons. There's also Wang Ming. We have to get in touch with him. Supreme Cloud still doesn't know that Wang Ming has already submitted to me. He'll definitely treat him as his confidant. So as long as we find Wang Ming, we'll know Supreme Cloud's current situation like the back of our hand. Qin Feiyang added a few more sentences. That makes sense. Hua Yi nodded. He raised his head to look at the night sky and said, all right, let's split up and meet up at Black Tortoise Mountain after daybreak. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He activated the altars and headed straight for Holy Dragon City. Although according to his judgment, Shengguanqiu would not be in danger for the time being, judgment was just judgment. No one knew the real situation, so it was better to be careful. Under the night sky, Holy Dragon City was like a giant black beast, exuding an aura that made one's heart palpitate. Qin Feiyang stood on top of a mountain not far from the city and looked at the Holy Dragon City. Whoosh! Suddenly, with a wave of his hand, Yi Cheng, Wang Daoyuan, and Li Changhe appeared. Young master. Wang Daoyuan and Li Changhe bowed. Go and find Jiang Dafei immediately. I want to know everything that has happened in the Divine Prefecture all these years. And, by the way, ask him how he's doing with the task I gave him before he left. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. The two of them responded respectfully and snuck into the Holy Dragon City like ghosts. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Yi Cheng and said with a smile, it's not convenient for me to go to the Divine Dragon Island now. You can go and see your brother yourself. Yi Cheng was slightly taken aback, and then a trace of hesitation appeared on his face. Are you afraid to see him? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Yes. Yi Cheng nodded. He didn't care before because he didn't say so. But now, Yi Zhong already knew that he followed Qin Feiyang, so he couldn't help but feel a little guilty when he saw Yi Zhong again. Because Yi Zhong was very majestic in his heart. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "Why don't you take an incredible divine artifact with you?" He was also afraid that Yi Zhong would forcibly detain Yi Cheng. In that case, he would have one less warlord. After all, Yi Cheng had stepped into the half-step imperishable realm and was a first-class expert in the entire divine prefecture. An incredible divine artifact? Yi Cheng was slightly stunned and said with a wry smile, "That's too exaggerated. Forget it. If my brother knew, he would think that I went to show off to him. Okay then, be careful. Also, if there's a chance, find a way to get Yi Shui, and the old man out of the Divine Dragon Island," Qin Feiyang said. Before entering the Nether King's Hell, Yi Zhong sent Yi Shui, and the old man to the Divine Dragon Island. At that time, Yi Zhong did this for the sake of their safety. But now, it became a hidden danger. Why? Yi Cheng was suspicious. If you can't persuade Yi Zhong, then I can only carry out my plan. And this plan of mine will put their lives in danger. In the Nether King's Hell, Qin Feiyang had already made arrangements. It was the video he had recorded when he met Yi Zhong in the giant Dragon Mountain range. This video was the core of the plan. When this video was released, it would definitely arouse the anger of the dragons. When the time came, even if Yi Zhong explained, he would not be able to clear his name. Yi Shui, and the old man on the Divine Dragon Island would naturally be in danger. Because the dragons would not let anyone who betrayed them go. Even though Yi Zhong had a close relationship with Longzuan. Yi Cheng heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying in a deep voice, "I will make the arrangements. Then go quickly." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Yi Cheng took a deep breath, opened a teleportation altar, and left. Qin Feiyang turned around and looked at Holy Dragon City. His dark eyes flickered with light. The divine land should be very peaceful while I was away. But now, I'm back. Soon, it will be lively again. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, took out an illusory appearance pill, changed his appearance, and entered the Holy Dragon City secretly. It was already early in the morning. Except for the noise of the major restaurants, the other places were very quiet. Qin Feiyang walked on the street like a ghost, occasionally meeting one or two drunkards. In this regard, it was no different from the secular world. At night, he could basically meet drunkards. Finally, the treasure pavilion entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. However, he did not approach, standing in a dark alley, watching from afar. At the entrance of the treasure pavilion, there were two guards on duty, both of whom were at the ninth heaven realm, scanning the street with sharp eyes. The door of the treasure pavilion was undoubtedly closed. Above, there were two lanterns hanging, emitting a weak candlelight. After observing for a while, Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal and quietly activated it. Soon. He frowned. He sent a message to Shengguan Qiu, but there was no response at all. What was going on? Then he thought of a woman, Ren Xiaolan. Since the pavilion master said that Shengguan Qiu and Ren Xiaolan were on good terms, then he could definitely contact Shengguan Qiu. However, he hesitated again. Because no one knew what the current situation was. Although Ren Xiaolan used to be a good woman, hundreds of years had passed. Who knew if she was still the Ren Xiaolan he knew? If Ren Xiaolan became a spy for Supreme Cloud and was responsible for monitoring Shengguan Qiu, then he would undoubtedly expose his motive and whereabouts if he went to find Ren Xiaolan now. In short, he did not want any accidents to happen before he saw Shengguan Qiu with his own eyes. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang finally decided to sneak in. Whoosh! The next moment, Qin Feiyang disappeared, controlling the Black Tortoise realm, and quietly entered the treasure pavilion. He did not know where Shangguan was, so he could only look for him slowly. About 100 breaths passed. Qin Feiyang stopped in front of a room in the corner of the 3rd floor. The door was not closed, leaving a gap, and a weak candlelight came through. After a while, Qin Feiyang controlled the Black Tortoise realm and entered the room. It turned out that this was a study. There were 2 women in the study. One of them was Ren Xiaolan. The other person was wearing a long white dress that was spotless. Her fine black hair was tied up high with an exquisite hairpin in it. She sat at the desk, looking down at an account book, as if she was calculating something. That was right. She was Shangguan. After hundreds of years, she had become more capable and charming than before. It's good that you're fine. A smile finally appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. As he expected, Supreme Cloud did not attack her for the time being. However, when he looked at Ren Xiaolan again, he could not help but frown slightly. This woman was not dealing with any business. She was sitting casually at the coffee table, drinking tea. But her eyes were glancing at Shangguan from time to time. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang murmured. She was not cultivating or resting in the middle of the night, but sitting here drinking tea? If she was dealing with business, it would not be suspicious. But now, it seemed that she had nothing to do. Moreover, Qin Feiyang noticed that the way Ren Xiaolan looked at Shangguan seemed to be a little different. It was as if she was monitoring someone. It can't be like what I guessed. Qin Feiyang murmured. From the bottom of his heart, he did not want to believe it, let alone think so. Because he liked Ren Xiaolan very much. Back then. The reason he helped Ren Xiaolan was because he thought Ren Xiaolan was a good person. Similarly, without his help, Ren Xiaolan would have been kicked out of the treasure hall by the steward, not to mention her current status. I hope I'm overthinking. Qin Feiyang murmured. He activated the concealment spell and appeared in the study. He did not say anything, but stood silently by the desk. Time passed by slowly. About an hour later, Shangguan finally closed the account book, straightened her body and stretched. Is there a problem? Ren Xiaolan put down the teacup in her hand and looked at Shangguan with a smile. No problem. Shangguan shook her head and smiled. Thank you for being with me for so long. Aren't we sisters? No need to thank me. Ren Xiaolan finished speaking and got up with a smile. Let's go and have a rest before dawn. Okay. Shangguan nodded. She got up and blew out the candle on the table. Then she left the study with Ren Xiaolan and went downstairs. At the top of the stairs, Ren Xiaolan suddenly said, Sister Shangguan, tell me honestly. Are you staying in Shenzhou because of Qin Feiyang? Shangguan blushed and did not answer. Every time I ask you this, you don't answer. Ren Xiaolan shook her head helplessly. There's nothing to say. Shangguan shook her head. Is there nothing to say, or are you embarrassed to say it? Ren Xiaolan joked with her. Shangguan blushed even more. Chapter 28-25. While talking, they walked to a secluded corner on the 2nd floor. There were 2 rooms here. Ren Xiaolan smiled and said, See you in the morning. See you in the morning. Shangguan nodded. They each entered a room and closed the door. As soon as they entered the room, a cold light flashed in Shangguan eyes. Qin Feiyang was also in Shangguan room. The room was not very big. There was a bedroom, a living room, a practice room, and a washroom. It was about 100 square meters, but it was very cozy. There was a faint fragrance of flowers in the air. In the 4 corners of the living room, there were pots of blooming lilies as white as snow. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang felt a chill down his spine. The chill came from Sheng Guanqiu's eyes. Qin Feiyang turned and looked at Sheng Guanqiu suspiciously. What was going on? Not only was there a chill in his eyes, but his face was also a little gloomy. Sigh. After a while, Sheng Guanqiu sighed softly and walked to the washroom. As he walked, he undressed himself as well. Obviously, she was going to take a bath. Don't. Qin Feiyang quickly transmitted the voice to her. Sheng Guanqiu was suddenly alerted. She turned and looked around in surprise. Qin Feiyang turned back to his original appearance. He turned off the concealment spell and appeared in front of Sheng Guanqiu. Sheng Guanqiu was stunned. She quickly tidied her clothes and her cheeks were burning. Well, I really didn't see anything. Qin Feiyang's expression was also extremely awkward. He really didn't see anything because Sheng Guanqiu had not taken off her clothes. Sheng Guanqiu lowered her head and her cheeks were red. It took her a while to come to her senses. Then, she looked up at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Aren't you in the hell of Hades?" "You're back." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Sheng Guanqiu looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. He took out a Heaven's Eye stone to prove his identity. "It's really you." Seeing that the Heaven's Eye stone had no reaction, Sheng Guanqiu's face was filled with joy. Qin Feiyang, however, had a trace of dissatisfaction on his face. He said, "You're doing fine in the northern region. Why did you come to the Divine Land?" Sheng Guanqiu looked a little flustered. "Don't tell me that you stayed in Shenzhou for your dreams and ideals." Qin Feiyang said. "It's all about dreams and ideals. After all, the Divine Land is the holy land that everyone in the 4 major regions yearns to enter." Sheng Guanqiu said stubbornly. Qin Feiyang looked at her deeply and asked, "Do you know your current situation?" "Of course I do." Sheng Guanqiu nodded. "What? You know?" This time, it was Qin Feiyang who was rather surprised. "I didn't know at first. But one day, Ren Xiaolan and the chief pavilion master were communicating, and I accidentally overheard it. That's when I realized my situation." Sheng Guanqiu said. "No wonder I felt a chill in your eyes just now. So you've already seen through it. So, Ren Xiaolan has indeed been bribed by the chief pavilion master to spy on you secretly?" Qin Feiyang said. "Yes. But Ren Xiaolan doesn't know that I've already found out. She still thinks that I treat her as a good sister." Sheng Guanqiu snorted. "This woman really disappoints me." Qin Feiyang shook his head, and a murderous look flashed across his eyes. "Don't act rashly. Ren Xiaolan is Supreme Cloud's spy. If you kill her now, the chief pavilion master will definitely be suspicious." Sheng Guanqiu said in a low voice. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "What about the steward of the treasure pavilion?" "Ren Xiaolan has been bribed by the chief pavilion master, let alone the steward." Sheng Guanqiu said. "This fat pig, he really doesn't learn from his mistakes." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He asked, "Have you seen the chief pavilion master with your own eyes?" "No." Sheng Guanqiu shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "How much do you know about my current situation?" "Basically everything. After all, rumors about you are everywhere in Divine Land. Besides, I've also met Jiang Dafei." Sheng Guanqiu said with a smile. "Jiang Dafei? How do you know each other?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "He took the initiative to look for me. I heard from him that it was a man called Wang Ming who asked him to look for me." Sheng Guanqiu said. "Wang Ming?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. You know Wang Ming? Shengguan Xiu asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. According to Jiang Dafei, Wang Ming asked him to tell me that the chief pavilion master wants to use me to deal with you. He also told me the reason. So I already know about the Dragon Slayer Palace and the relationship between the chief pavilion master and the Dragon Slayer Palace. Shengguan Xiu said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. If it was Wang Ming, it would make sense. Wang Ming himself did not know about the relationship between him and Shengguan Xiu. But because the chief pavilion master did not know that Wang Ming had pledged allegiance to him, he did not hide some plans from Wang Ming. Therefore, Wang Ming learned about the relationship between him and Shengguan Xiu from the chief pavilion master. Therefore, Wang Ming immediately found Jiang Dafei and asked him to pass the message to Shengguan Xiu. From this point of view, Wang Ming was not a bad person. He was quite loyal to him. Qin Feiyang said, now that you know everything, do you regret coming to Divine Land now? No. Shengguan Xiu shook his head. Why is everyone more stupid than the other? Qin Feiyang was helpless. Don't misunderstand. I didn't come to Divine Land for you. I just want to do something big in Divine Land. I want all the women in the world to understand that we women can still live well without you men. So don't think about sending me back to the North region. Shengguan Xiu looked at Qin Feiyang with vigilance. Okay. As long as you are happy. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He really wanted to send Shengguan Xiu back to the North region. Because Divine Land was too dangerous now. One careless mistake and he would be smashed to pieces. He did not want to feel uneasy. But now that Shengguan Xiu had made it clear, he had no choice. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Shengguan Xiu finally smiled. Don't be happy too early. Although I allowed you to stay in Divine Land, I didn't say that you could continue to stay in the treasure house. After all, I promised your master to take good care of you. You can leave the treasure house for now and stay with me. Qin Feiyang said. You've met my master? Shengguan Xiu was stunned. Yes. I just came back from the North region. Qin Feiyang nodded. You came to find me after you came back from the North region? Shengguan Xiu was happy to hear that. It seemed that this man cared about her. Don't get me wrong. I was asked to do this. Qin Feiyang said hurriedly. Shengguan Xiu pouted. Would it kill him to admit that he cared about her? Qin Feiyang sighed. He looked at Shengguan Xiu and said, to be honest, you are a good woman. Whoever marries you will be lucky for several generations. But you know my situation. Enough. You don't have to explain so much. I know you have someone in your heart. I have thought it through these years. If you like someone, you don't have to be with him. As long as he is happy, that's enough. Shengguan Xiu interrupted Qin Feiyang and shook her head. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Time could really slowly change some people. Shengguan Xiu said, I won't leave the treasure house either. Won't leave the treasure house? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. That's right. Shengguan Xiu nodded and said, Supreme Cloud and the others don't know that you are back, so I won't be in any danger if I stay in the treasure house. But, Qin Feiyang frowned. Do you really want me to cling to you? If so, I will leave with you now. But once I leave, you won't be able to get rid of me in the future. Shengguan Xiu said. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Seeing Qin Feiyang's reaction, Shengguan Xiu was a little disappointed. However, he quickly covered it up and smiled faintly, don't worry. Everything else aside, I still have the ability to take care of myself. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then you can go. We are a single man and a single woman. Don't let your woman misunderstand. Sheng Wanqiu said. She was referring to the mermaid princess. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. All right, take care of yourself. Then, he entered the Black Tortoise realm and left the treasure house quietly. He did not have the time to waste with Sheng Wanqiu. After leaving the treasure house, Qin Feiyang appeared in the dark alley again. Looking at the two guards at the door, his eyes flickered. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and an old figure immediately appeared beside him. It was Feng Daji. Young lord. Feng Daji bowed. I have a task for you. Sneak into the treasure house and protect Sheng Wanqiu. Qin Feiyang said. Sneak into the treasure house? Feng Daji was slightly stunned. He frowned and said, that seems a little difficult. Qin Feiyang pointed at the two guards and asked, are you sure it's difficult? Feng Daji looked up at the two guards. After thinking carefully, he said, you mean, I have to kill one of them, then pretend to be him and sneak into the treasure house? Just know what to do. You don't have to say it. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and turned to leave. With Feng Daji protecting Sheng Wanqiu, there was nothing to worry about. Because Feng Daji had broken through to the initial imperishable realm. In the treasure house of the Holy Dragon City, other than Supreme Cloud, the most powerful person was the steward, who was only halfway to the imperishable realm. Black Tortoise Mountain. The mountain range was full of lush greenery. Qin Feiyang stood at the top of the mountain, holding his breath and muttering to himself with his head lowered. The fire python had taken a great risk to send him back to the ancient world, so he could not let the fire python down. The matter of Supreme Cloud had to be resolved completely. The treasure house had to become a part of the dragon-slaying palace. There was also the dragons. With his current strength, it was impossible to destroy the dragons, but he had to at least give the dragons a fatal blow. Lastly, there was Yi Zhong. No matter what, he had to pull Yi Zhong into his camp. Although each of these tasks was difficult, they had to be completed. Besides, he had to deal with Supreme Cloud secretly. Otherwise, if the dragons found out, even if he killed or subdued Supreme Cloud, the treasure house would be destroyed. The treasure house provided resources for the dragon-slaying palace. It was the foundation of the dragon-slaying palace, so there could be no accidents. Chapter 28-26. At the same time. The Dragon God Palace. The plaza at the entrance. An old man with white hair sat cross-legged in the middle of the plaza, his aura unfathomable. He was Yi Zhong. Suddenly, Yi Zhong opened his eyes and turned to look at the entrance, only to see an old man standing outside. This person was Yi Cheng. Looking at Yi Zhong, Yi Cheng instinctively lowered his head, not daring to look at Yi Zhong's eyes. Yi Zhong's face darkened, he stood up and walked to Yi Cheng's side, and said in a deep voice, "Follow me." With that, he flew down the stone stairs. Yi Cheng smiled bitterly, turned around and followed behind Yi Zhong. Not long later, the two of them entered a deep mountain. Yi Zhong set up a soundproof barrier and immediately cursed. "What are you trying to do? Do you know that by doing this, you will kill me, kill Shui, and kill the old man? It wasn't easy for my Yi family to get to where we are today, and you want to see everything destroyed?" To this, Yi Cheng lowered his head and remained silent. He had long expected this scene. He also understood his big brother's personality. If he didn't let him vent, he would definitely feel suffocated. "Say something. Do you think it's fine to just keep quiet?" Yi Zhong said angrily. "Big brother. The Nether King's hell hasn't ended yet. Seeing me appear, shouldn't you first ask why I'm here?" Yi Cheng smiled bitterly. Yi Zhong was stunned. "That's right. Didn't Qin Feiyang say that Yi Cheng was cultivating in the Black Tortoise realm? Since he was in the Black Tortoise realm, then he was naturally in the Nether King's Hell. But the Nether King's Hell hadn't ended yet, so how could Yi Cheng appear? In a moment of anger, he actually neglected this point. Alright. Tell me, how did you come back from the Nether King's Hell? Yi Zhong took a deep breath, calmed the anger in his heart, and said. I can't say. Yi Cheng shook his head. Yi Zhong's veins bulged as he roared, Am I still your big brother? You will always be my big brother. But there are some things that I can't tell you before you change your position. Yi Cheng said. Changing sides, Yi Zhong clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, In that case, Qin Feiyang didn't lie to me. You really followed him willingly. Yes. Yi Cheng nodded. Why? Yi Zhong said angrily. Why? It's very simple. I don't want to become a sinner. I also don't want my descendants to become objects of disdain. Big brother, it's time to wake up. Look, all these years, Shui and father have been living in seclusion deep in the mountains, not daring to go out. Because once they go out, there will be people pointing at their backs and scolding them. But Shui is very sensible, and father also knows that you're having a hard time, so they didn't say anything and silently endured it. But can you bear to let them live like this forever? In any case, I can't bear to. I hope that they will be able to enter the city openly and face everyone in a dignified manner. I hope that everyone will respect them and not scold them behind their backs. Yi Cheng sighed. Naive. The strength of the dragons isn't something that a single Qin Feiyang can shake. Yi Zhong snorted coldly. That's of course. But a single Qin Feiyang isn't enough. There are tens of thousands of people. We don't seek to go down in history. We only seek to have a clear conscience. Yi Cheng said. Ridiculous. If we don't even have our lives, what's the use of having a clear conscience? Yi Zhong said. Big brother. Yi Cheng was incomparably anxious. Enough. Yi Zhong shouted impatiently and asked, Has Qin Feiyang returned? Yes. Yi Cheng sighed softly and nodded. Then what's his plan? Yi Zhong asked. I won't say. Yi Cheng shook his head. Bastard. What kind of bewitching potion did he give you to make you so dead set on him? Yi Zhong roared. If there's such a thing as bewitching potion in the world, he'll go to you and not me. However, I do have to thank you. Look at my current cultivation. Yi Cheng smiled faintly. Cultivation? Yi Zhong sized up Yi Cheng and his pupils suddenly shrank. That's right. I've already stepped into the half-step undying realm. There's one thing I can tell you. The current time array of the Black Tortoise world is 1,000 years per day. It's not just me and Qin Feiyang. Everyone in the Black Tortoise world's cultivation is soaring. I believe that a large number of undying realm experts will be born in the Black Tortoise world soon. Yi Cheng smiled confidently. 1,000 years per day. Yi Zhong was stunned and muttered, It's actually stronger than the current time array of the Divine Dragon Island. The current time array? Yi Cheng was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, What do you mean? The Dragon God has already set up an even stronger time array on the Divine Dragon Island this time. 500 years per day. Yi Zhong said. 500 years per day. Yi Cheng was shocked. Originally, the time array of the Dragon God Palace was not as strong as the time array of the Dragon Slaying Palace. Because the time array of the Dragon Slaying Palace was 50 years per day. But now, it had become 500 years per day. Wasn't this the same as the time array of the ancient King Yuang City? I think, the Dragon God must have set up a time array of 500 years per day to close the gap. Because everyone thought that Qin Feiyang would cultivate in the ancient King Yuang City until the Nether King's Hell closed. But who would have thought that not only did he not stay in the ancient King Yuang city, but even the time array of the Black Tortoise world has become so powerful. Yi Zhong shook his head. This kid was filled with too many miracles. He was the clearest about the situation of the Nether King's hell. Other than people like him who had left their divine souls outside and could come out in advance, the others had to wait until the Nether King's hell closed. But Qin Feiyang, on the other hand, ran out without anyone noticing. Wait! Suddenly, Yi Zhong looked up at Yi Cheng and asked, could it be that Qin Feiyang also left his divine soul outside? Before entering the Nether King's hell, he didn't even know the situation of the Nether King's hell. How could he leave his divine soul in advance? Yi Cheng said. Then how did you guys come out? Yi Zhong frowned. He really couldn't figure it out. I really can't say. Yi Cheng shook his head. Yi Zhong said, then tell me, what is Qin Feiyang's next plan? Yi Cheng shook his head again. Yi Zhong grabbed Yi Cheng's clothes, his face full of anger. Big brother, Qin Feiyang is your disciple, and I am your brother. Why would we harm you? Besides, he does treat you as his master. Yi Cheng sighed. He is such an amazing person. This old man can't afford to be friends with him. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to tell me or not? Yi Zhong said angrily. If I don't tell you, will you kill me? If so, then do it. Yi Cheng closed his eyes. Yi Zhong was furious. After a long time, Yi Zhong looked at Yi Cheng helplessly, let go of Yi Cheng's clothes, and sighed. Have you really made up your mind? Yes. Yi Cheng nodded. What is so good about Qin Feiyang? Why are you so loyal? Yi Zhong asked helplessly. Yi Cheng pondered for a while and said with a smile, although he is still very young, he is more responsible than anyone else. You don't know, right? In order to save the world, he sacrificed himself without hesitation. Save the world? Yi Zhong was stunned. That's right. This happened before he entered the ancient world. Back then, a catastrophe happened in the great Qin and forgotten continent where he was, and countless living beings died tragically. In the end, he used his life as the price to open the gate of rebirth and revive all living beings. At that time, he was almost completely destroyed. In the end, it was the dragon god who saved him. Yi Cheng said. The dragon god saved him? Yi Zhong looked at Yi Cheng in a daze. That's right. I believe you already know that the dragon god and Qin Feiyang have known each other for a long time. When he was in the Nether King's hell, Qin Feiyang barged into the mythical forest and clashed with the dragon god. Yi Cheng said. But why is that? Qin Feiyang is clearly the enemy of the dragons, so why would the dragon god save him? Yi Zhong frowned. I don't know either. Qin Feiyang himself doesn't know either. Actually, I'm not telling you this to express the complicated relationship between Qin Feiyang and the dragon god, but to let you understand Qin Feiyang as a person. Think about it. In this world, who would be willing to sacrifice their own life to revive those unrelated living beings? But Qin Feiyang is willing to do so. From this, it can be seen that he is a very responsible person. To be honest, in this aspect, even Qin Badian can't compare to him. So, if the dragons are destroyed in the end and the ancient world is ruled by Qin Feiyang, I believe that whether it is humans or beasts, they will all be treated fairly. Yi Cheng said. Yi Zhong was silent. I'm not lying to you. All of these things really happened, Qin Wentian said. A young man like Qin Feiyang is worthy of us following. Moreover, whether it is me or Feng Daji, although we follow him, he has never treated us as subordinates. We are friends and family together, and we are very harmonious. Yi Cheng said. Yi Zhong continued to be silent. There is one more thing. You now know the relationship between Qin Feiyang and Nine Heavens Palace. Because Nine Heavens Palace helped Qin Feiyang before, Qin Feiyang returned this time and gave Nine Heavens Palace a total of 108th order divine level crystal veins and soul lines. There is also the 10,000 deity art and divine weapon. Yi Qing said again. He knew that his big brother had begun to waver, so he put in more effort and told him all about Qin Feiyang's character and character. 8th order divine level soul line and crystal vein. Yi Zhong was shocked. Yes. Even the dragons wouldn't be willing to give us a soul line and crystal vein of this level. Look at this Qin Feiyang. Without saying anything, he directly gave us 100. This is his character. Kindness must be repaid. Such a young man, isn't it good enough? To have such a disciple, shouldn't you feel proud? Yi Qing asked. Hearing these words, Yi Zhong's expression clearly showed that he was in a dilemma. Chapter 28-27. Yi Qing asked, Big brother, are Shui and father still on Divine Dragon Island? Yes. Yi Zhong nodded and said, 500 years in a day. Of course, I will let them continue to stay on Divine Dragon Island. You can't do that. Yi Qing hurriedly said. This is for the good of Shui and father. What's wrong with that? Yi Zhong couldn't help but frown. If there was no Qin Feiyang, this would indeed be a good thing. However, the current situation doesn't allow Shui and father to continue staying on Divine Dragon Island. Yi Qing was extremely anxious. What do you mean? Yi Zhong frowned. I won't hide it from you. Before I came to find you, Qin Feiyang warned me repeatedly to tell you that Shui and Lord Father must not continue to stay on the Divine Dragon Island. Because Qin Feiyang has already formulated a plan to make you and the dragons fall out. Once this plan is carried out, I can tell you responsibly that the dragons will fall out with you on the spot. At that time, won't Shui and father, who are on Divine Dragon Island, be in danger? Yi Qing said. What plan? Yi Zhong was surprised. I can't say. I just hope that you can take Shui and father away immediately. Otherwise, when an accident happens, it will be too late to regret. Yi Qing said. Is this a threat? Yi Zhong stared at Yi Qing gloomily. Big brother. I've already said so much. Do you still not understand my painstaking efforts? Threat? If I really wanted to threaten you, would Qin Feiyang have me come to find you? He has already thought of all the possibilities and is considering them for us. Let's talk about it later. Just based on the fact that Qin Feiyang extended father's life, we should be grateful. Yi Qing sighed. Yi Zhong fell silent again. In short, you have a very high position in Qin Feiyang's heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tried everything to persuade you. And Qin Badian. Qin Badian has made it very clear. If I can't convince you, then I'll kill you. But Qin Feiyang never did that. Think about it. With his character and methods, if he didn't respect you, why would he waste so much time with you? Big brother, I beg you, please wake up. The humans of the ancient realm have been oppressed by the dragons for so long. It's time for them to stand up. Yi Qing sighed. Yi Zhong lowered his head, his expression uncertain. I know it's hard for you to decide right now, so I'll give you some time to think about it. Think about it. What exactly is the right thing to do? Don't wait until you become a sinner for all eternity before you realize your mistake. Yi Qing sighed deeply and then opened a teleportation altar. Where are you going? Yi Zhong frowned. Go back and report. Do you know? Before coming, Qin Feiyang was prepared to give me a heaven-defying divine artifact. Because he was worried, you forcefully detained me, but I refused. Because I believe that you're not such a stubborn person. Likewise. Even Qin Feiyang was willing to give me a heaven-defying divine artifact. Isn't this enough to prove his character? Think back to all these years. You've followed revered dragon and contributed so much to the dragons. Have you ever obtained a heaven-defying divine artifact? Every time a heaven-defying divine artifact was found in the Nether King's Hell, it would end up in the hands of the various ancestral dragons. With this comparison, it's clear who's better. After saying that, Yi Cheng stepped onto the altar. Yi Zhong didn't stop him. He raised his head and looked at Yi Cheng's back with a trace of confusion in his eyes. I'll wait for your news. Yi Cheng turned and smiled at Yi Zhong before his figure quickly disappeared. Sigh. Yi Zhong stood on the mountain peak and looked at the night sky. After a long time, he sighed and turned to leave. Black Tortoise Mountain. You're back. Seeing Yi Cheng appear, Qin Feiyang smiled. Yes. Yi Cheng nodded. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Big brother has already wavered. I hope to give him more time. And Shui, and father are still on the Divine Dragon Island. If you start the plan, I'm afraid, at this point. Yi Cheng's face was full of worry. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, as long as he starts to waver, there's hope. If you're worried, I won't start the plan unless I have no other choice. Thank you. Yi Cheng smiled gratefully. Swoosh. Suddenly, another 4 figures silently landed on Black Tortoise Mountain. They were Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing, the city lord of Serpent City. Before entering the Nether King's Hell, Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing's cultivation had already broken through to the perfection stage of the Nine Heavens realm. Although more than 200 years had passed and they hadn't broken through, the aura of a city lord had been formed. Greetings, young lord. Looking at Qin Feiyang on the mountain peak, the two immediately landed on the mountain peak and bowed. Qin Feiyang nodded. Jiang Dafei said in surprise, young lord, how did you come back? Yes. If Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan hadn't used the Sky's Eye Stone to verify your identities, we would have suspected that you were impersonators. Lei Bing added. We were lucky. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at Jiang Dafei. Thank you for reminding Shangguan Qiu in time. This is what I should do. We'll talk about it later. This is also Lord Ming Huang's arrangement. I'm just an errand boy. But speaking of which, how did Lord Ming Huang become your subordinate? Jiang Dafei was surprised. Lord Ming was naturally Wang Ming. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and asked, Wang Ming didn't tell you? It's hard to even see a big shot like him, let alone explain to me. Jiang Dafei smiled bitterly. That's a long story. In short, you just need to know that not only Wang Ming, but also Yang Li and Lord Beast are now on our side. Qin Feiyang said. Amazing. Jiang Dafei and Lei Bing's faces were full of admiration. Tell us. Has anything big happened in these years? Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Dafei laughed. As long as you're not around, Divine Land must be very peaceful. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Are you saying that I'm a jinx? However, since the Divine Land was very peaceful, Yi Zhong did not spread the news of what had happened in the Underworld King's Hell. Jiang Dafei scratched his head and laughed dryly. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, What about the task I gave you? It's done. Jiang Dafei nodded. So fast? Qin Feiyang was surprised. With our ability, it's definitely impossible, but young lord, you have a great influence now. After you left, Lei Bing, Wang Qi, and I immediately went to the Immortal General and asked for a list. It's the spies of the Dragon Slayer Palace lurking in the east, west, and south. At first, we thought that even with the list in hand, it would be difficult to deal with them. After all, they are the other 3 young lords' men. But when we went to the east, west, and south separately and found these people, they all returned surprisingly in unison. They all said that they were willing to follow you, young lord. And even if we said that we had to sign the slave seal to follow you, they didn't hesitate at all. Later, we found out that they already knew about your deeds and felt that following you would have a better future than following the other 3 young lords. So the whole process wasn't difficult at all. Jiang Dafei smiled. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a smile, "That's a little unexpected. And this immortal general actually gave you the list of the west, east, and south." We were also puzzled. At first, we thought that his immortal general wouldn't give us the list so easily. After all, he kept saying that we couldn't cross the line. But in the end, when we asked, he didn't hesitate at all. I really don't understand what he's thinking. Jiang Dafei shook his head. Yi Qing smiled. I think it might be Qin Badian and Lu Zhengyang's idea. I think that's the only possibility. Qin Feiyang nodded. Looking at the 2 of them, he continued to ask, then, did my 2 ancestors make a move against the people under Venerable Cloud and Venerable Beast's command? We don't know about that. Because even if they did, they would secretly suppress them inside the Dragon Slayer Palace. After all, this isn't a small matter. If something happens, it won't be good for anyone. Jiang Dafei said. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. It seemed that if they wanted to understand the situation, they would have to find Wang Ming, or directly find the 2 ancestors. Wait. Divine generals should know about the situation as well. Qin Feiyang looked at Jiang Dafei and said, contact the divine general right away. Okay. Jiang Dafei took out an image crystal. Buzz. Before long, a masked man in black armor appeared. Young lord? The divine general's eyes were full of astonishment. Wasn't this young lord in the Nether King's hell? What was going on? Qin Feiyang said, tell me about the current situation of the Dragon Slayer Palace first. Wait. The divine general stretched out his hand and frowned. Let me verify your identity first. Qin Feiyang helplessly took out a heavenly ice stone. Seeing no reaction from the heavenly ice stone for a long time, the divine general's astonishment grew even stronger. There was no problem with his identity? Strange, didn't Wang Ming say that the Nether King's hell wouldn't close for 1,000 years? It had only been a little over 200 years. How had Qin Feiyang escaped from the Nether King's hell? Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal and said, we'll talk about me later. Tell me about the current situation of the Dragon Slayer Palace first. Yes. The divine general came back to his senses and responded respectfully. He shook his head and said, the current situation of the Dragon Slayer Palace hasn't changed. No change? Qin Feiyang frowned and said, I remember the ancestor said that after Venerable Cloud and Venerable Beast entered the Nether King's hell, they would seize control of the treasure pavilion. Why hasn't there been any change? That's indeed their plan. But there's one thing they didn't expect. Venerable Cloud left his soul outside. Think about it. If we force a move, will Venerable Cloud just sit there and wait for death? Definitely not. Maybe they will even jump over the wall in desperation and seek refuge with the dragons. In that case, wouldn't the Dragon Slayer Palace be destroyed? That's why they haven't dared to make a move. The Divine General sighed. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.